This is the Tame Aperture podcast.
Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal.
Hello, Hal, do you read me?
Do you read me, Hal? Do you read me, Hal?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you. I read you. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
Come on down and jump into this shit.
You'll always have backup. Sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Welcome to the Tame Aperture podcast, where we talk all things movies from first-time directors, indie films, art house, and much, much more. Today on the podcast, we continue Horror Month by taking a look into the 1973 American supernatural horror film by William Friedkin, based on the novel of the same name. Yes, we are talking about The Exorcist, starring Ellen Burstyn, Max von Sydow, Lee J. Cobb, Jason Miller, and Linda Blair. When a 12-year-old Regan is possessed by a mysterious and devilish entity, her mother, Chris, tries everything in her power to get her help, finally soliciting the aid of two priests to exorcise the demons. I'm Gabe Bienendahl, filmmaker, film instructor, and movie enthusiast, and I'm joined, as always, by Alan Martindale, veteran podcaster, editor, and horror film fanatic. How the hell are you, Alan?
We're finally doing it, man. We're finally doing the scariest movie ever made, the best horror movie of all time, the movie that sent paramedics streaming to the theaters to aid in the people who were passing out and vomiting and convulsing because this movie was so terrifying.
Sensing a large amount of sarcasm coming from your voice.
Look, it was. I remember. So This is a little shameful for me to admit. Since I do love horror more than anything. I was not super familiar with The Exorcist. I know I'd seen it a long time ago, and I remember being kind of bored in it. And then, so I was not expecting much, because I do remember kind of checking my watch and being like, come on, man, something's got to go. Got to get going here. And then I was pleasantly surprised. I will say it's I can see why people love it so much.
It's interesting because based on the level of sarcasm coming from your voice in that initial read in terms of the scariest movie ever alive or ever made, I was sensing a different ending to that sentence that you just sputtered out.
Maybe, well, here's the thing. Is it scary? I don't think it's very scary. It's creepy. And I think if you're super religious, I can understand how it would be very scary.
Yeah, I think there's that element of religion to it. It's not, it's not scary from the perspective of that creepy clown over your shoulder.
No. Hugs, the clown, his name is Hugs. He's a lot scarier.
Let's be honest, Hugs is very scary.
He's very scary. Although he's part of the family. My daughter loves him so much. Like when I got him, I went to the Halloween store, and I'd gone with her before, and I was waiting until kind of the after season sale when everything goes on sale. Yeah. And so it was like a week before Halloween, and he came in an open box, so it was super discounted, and it was the one animatronic that she did not want me to get, so she was super pissed at me. But now she runs up, she hugs him, she'll take pictures with him. She loves him. Like, he's part of the family.
You know me, and I've said this before, I'm creeped out by him when I see him over your shoulder.
The best part, though, is he's here all year long. It's not even just Halloween. I just brought him up in the frame for today.
That's why we can title you Horror Film Fanatic and Horror Junkie, because you have Hugs up all year. This is not a seasonal thing.
No, and if you're listening on the podcast, here I will take a picture of Hugs, and I will post it to the Twitter and the Facebook and all that kind of stuff, so you can go look at it.
I love it. You should totally do that.
Because he's super creepy.
He is.
I'm proud of him.
And this movie doesn't, you should be. And this movie doesn't have that type of scare. But I like what you said. I think more than anything, it's disturbing.
It's disturbing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not wake up nightmare scary Hugs in your face. Like Hugs is over you and you're just sweating bullets dying. But this film's disturbing and it's creepy.
It's super creepy, especially because it's happening to a child.
And that's always a good gateway into forming some sympathy from the audience, right? When you have a child as your protagonist who's basically going through the experience, immediately there's always a little bit more kind of from the perspective of the viewer, a little bit more, I don't want to say sympathy, but a little bit more of attachment from the viewer side.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can relate to the mother's plight a lot more. She's alone in this. She doesn't know how to deal with what's happening. She has no idea. It's, to me, that's what's so scary about it.
Yeah, I think the confusion and
Yes.
the abstract nature of everything that's happening, the uncertainty. And then, let's be honest, there are very extreme moments in here of just pure torturous violence to self-mutilation and other things that are pretty disturbing from that perspective.
And
No?
happening to a 12-year-old child too is just I think it's more shocking than anything. And I don't know. It'd be interesting to go back in time and talk to people who just walked out of the theater and ask them what part affected them the most. Because, I mean, from what I've read, I wasn't born when this was made in 1973, but from what I read, this was kind of a phenomenon. It was, people were, it was a huge thing. And even when they were shooting the film, Linda Blair, who was, I think, 14 years old at the time, had to have bodyguards with her because the religious extremists were were sending her death threats because they thought that this movie was glorifying Satan. I mean, it's just so, the whole thing is absurd.
It sounds wild in that context. I think even now, if you look at it with the 2020 lens, maybe the 2019, since 2020 is a shit year.
Yeah. Let's go back in time.
It's not even going to be called 2020 vision anymore.
No, they're going to rename that phrase just because of that.
Or is it now everyone can see 2020 because they've lived it? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Oh, good point. Good point.
Either or, but my point being is, this is a 45-year-old movie ish and 45 plus years. Yeah, I mean, the context now you might get a little bit of that, but not to the extent that you probably did in 1973, where there's religious zealots and people getting overly inflamed about the content. I mean, I don't think you wouldn't see that now like you did in 73.
No, I don't think so. Well, God, who knows?
I don't think so. I really don't.
I don't think to that extent, but honestly, nothing would surprise me anymore.
Not to the extent of a 12-year-old having bodyguards.
It's
right?
pretty crazy. It's pretty
Of course,
crazy.
once again, 2020's changed it up. I think maybe if we were to take a DeLorean back a year, maybe what I'm saying is true.
I think you're probably right.
And now 2020, maybe it's not true. So
now I can see people doing it just because they think it's what's right and they want to, it's just, I don't even know anymore. I've lost all sense of reality.
Yes, that's the other thing. There's no logic in the world whatsoever.
No, there's not. There's not. It's
and
crazy.
Not to get overly political, but both sides are just a bunch of nonsense. Bunch of losers. I'm sorry.
We're just I mean, idiocracy. People have been saying that for years, but it's the first time it feels like that movie's come true.
Is that like, talk about religion in the sense of prophecy?
Yeah. Right?
Idiocracy is a prophetic vision of a film.
Mike Judge, man, who knew that he was a prophet?
Well, he's a hell of a screenwriter, that's for sure.
That's for sure. That's for damn sure.
But getting back to The Exorcist as the movie, like, one of the confusing things to me is that if you look at the total runtime of the film, I think it's just under 2 hours, like an hour 52. And I'm trying to figure out if we needed the first 10 minutes at that length. And the first 10 minutes of the film is basically the introduction of Father Merrin. Father Merrin, by the way, becomes a pivotal character in the beginning and the end. But the beginning, it's so long.
And it's pointless. Like, I kind of agree with that. We don't need it. I don't know if we need it at all. I don't know what we're getting out of it. I almost think it'd be better if Father Merrin was introduced to the story when he enters the house.
Because and that could be interesting to kind of feel it that way. The only thing I can do in justifying it is that it's of course introducing. So let's give a little context quickly. Father Merrin is a priest, but he's also Indiana Jones.
I don't understand. It was an archaeological dig, right?
Yeah,
in Iraq.
Yeah, so they're in Iraq. They're doing an archaeological. Oh my God.
It's a tough one. I stumbled over it too.
But they're doing a dig in Iraq. And here's the thing is that, by the way, the first 2 minutes of the film with the long tracking shot of the kid running to tell some white archaeologist that they found something, I literally was waiting for Dr. Jones.
Totally. I thought it was Shorty for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. It felt like it.
I thought they were going to like call out Dr. Marcus Brody. Like, Dr. Marcus Brody, Dr. Marcus Brody. But he finds it basically to sum it up, but I think it's too long. That first 10 minutes just stretches, and it's this amulet that he finds, right? That has some kind of religious significance.
Yeah. And do they ever say, honest, I'm not going to lie. There were a lot of moments in this movie where I was trying to pay attention, but I zoned out. And I had to keep rewinding it and going 10 seconds.
You're like, I don't give a fuck.
It's too long, man. Like it is. It's just too long. Like it's a lot of the stuff is not needed. There's some really weird shots that are full on setups that they literally had to set up in a new location just to get like one shot. It's weird, and I don't know why. Other than William Friedkin just wanted to spend as much money as possible. I did hear that this movie was supposed to be shot in like 80 days or something, and it ended up going like 230 days, and I'm not surprised at all.
It's a hell of a long production.
It's a long production.
Everyone was just, the union guys were loving it.
Oh yeah, they're stoked.
They got their overtime, time and a half, etc. They were loving life.
Studio's not so happy.
And the other thing, when you're a filmmaker, and a lot of people that are listening may not know this, but when you're in the film industry, you're basically a freelancer. So if you went from 80 days to 200 plus days, that's good day, because you're sticking around for a job 3, 4, 5 months longer than you had anticipated.
Yep.
And there's peaks and valleys. So sometimes jobs come in like a waterfall, and sometimes they dry up like the desert. So the point is, I think this crew was probably relatively happy because they had a job for an extra 5 months.
Yeah. But you can see that there's some stuff in there that just is unnecessary. It's almost like Friedkin wanted a trip to the Middle East, so he decided to include this sequence. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't think that's uncommon, though. I feel like a lot of filmmakers will do that. I swear they just write it in, and they'll be like, "Oh, Netflix is covering the budget, so
let's go.
Let's go to Hawaii."
Dude, Will Smith funded an entire trip to China for he and his family so they could make Karate Kid.
Yeah, exactly. Why did we need that? I love Will Smith. Why did we need that movie, though, Will?
We didn't need that movie at all.
We didn't need it. You just diluted the original, but not to get thanks for shitting on Karate Kid.
Exactly. Well, you know what? That brings up a good point, though. I am glad they have not remade this movie. I'm surprised.
They can't remake it.
I don't know, man. They've tried to remake everything at this point.
That's why the first movie we did this month, Texas Chainsaw, remake, and I kind of shit on it. I think I gave it in the 5s.
I think you did.
I even said that. But here's the deal. The reason is they can't remake Texas Chainsaw. It is what it is. It's embedded in history and culture and in the eyes of the viewer as what it is. It's too good. So we won't compare this to Chainsaw, but I actually like this movie. It's a really well-made movie. It's one of those things, again, where you get off on sequels and it's like, don't go recreate shit that already works.
Right. Honestly,
or remakes.
If you wanna shit all over a classic movie, just let the sequels do it, because that usually does the trick in almost every case.
So I'm with you. I'm glad they haven't remade this. But that first part of the movie where we get introduced to Father Merrin, it's 10 minutes of him walking around in Iraq. Now, one thing they do introduce is an amulet that has some form of significance, We'll get into that in a little bit. And then they also introduce or foreshadow the idea of a demon, because it's a shot where he's walking up the hill and then he sees this demonic statue, and the statue is highlighted in the sun reflecting back on him. And then it's these quick cuts and dogs are fighting, and it just kind of, it's insinuating something.
What are the pills he's taking? Because it seemed to me, and again, I was kind of...
Does he take that in the beginning or just towards the end?
At the beginning, too. So here was the sequence that again, I was kind of zoning out at times, despite my best efforts to stay in the moment.
And I will say this in contrast, real quick, sorry to interrupt. I was the opposite.
Okay. What do you mean?
I didn't zone out. Like, remember with Texas Chainsaw, I told you I was indifferent.
Yeah.
It was just like, yeah. But I was actually whatever. And maybe because I haven't seen this movie in 20 plus years, I haven't watched it since I was a teenager. So maybe I was just intrigued about a new quote unquote new movie because I hadn't seen it for so long.
And a new classic too.
Right.
So it may be, I don't know, man. But here's the sequence that I understood was he seems fine. Like, he seems fine. He's doing his work on the archaeological dig. And then he finds that amulet. He has the interaction with the statue. Mm-hmm. And then it almost feels like he's frail physically all of a sudden. And I don't know if he was that way before or only after he had the encounter with the statue and found the amulet, because that's when I first noticed he took the pill in the restaurant.
Okay.
So
that's right.
I don't know if his interaction with the statue caused him to be shaken, and all of a sudden now he's a frail old man. I mean, he was old before, but now he's really like kind of shaky and seems really disturbed and something's bothering him. And I didn't catch that before. So
my thought on that is that this interaction takes place in Iraq between him and some demon. Later on, it jumps years. It's 10, 12 years later, essentially, right?
Yeah.
When it jumps to the location of Washington, D.C., Georgetown University, all of that atmosphere. But my thought is that that was the introduction of some showdown between this demon and Father Marin. And then something happened traumatically, and as a result of that, his only way to overcome the exorcism that he performed on because they even mention it later. The priests are like, hey, he exorcised these demons in Africa or something like that. I don't know. So that's the only thing I can think of. But 10 minutes is a long time to get into the movie.
Yeah, it really is. And like I said, I think it's unnecessary. I mean, I get what they're doing. They're kind of setting up, because it's really cool later on, and we'll talk about it, when he's entering the house and you hear the demon upstairs yell Marin. Like, yeah. That's cool, because that feels like old foes are going to go at it again, you know? It feels like
another showdown.
Exactly. And I think if you're going to have that introduction with Marin at the beginning, I think you either have to go into more detail about what happened to them, or you just explain it expositorily. Like, you just discuss it in the dialogue.
Yeah, and I would prefer the first of those, because
sure.
I in this case, I mean, it's not that I'm even against exposition and like just telling what happened. I like, in this case, there's a little curiosity there. It's too long. 10 minutes is drags. But
well, especially when it's 10 minutes of him just walking on a road.
Yeah. I mean, even I like this movie, but the pretentious push in on his face when it goes in, and then all of a sudden it cuts to the demon statue, and you're like, okay, now.
There's so much of that in this movie.
Is Sergio Leone? Is that what we're doing here? We're doing like a wild spaghetti western? Is what's going on?
It does feel like Friedkin thought he was making some very important, I mean, and I'll talk about Friedkin a little bit.
Let's be clear. Friedkin also made The French Connection, which is a fantastic movie.
I didn't even know this. He made Blue Chips.
He did.
I had no idea. I love Blue Chips.
Yeah, he's a good filmmaker.
Right.
There's no doubting that, right?
Right. Not many people like Blue Chips, actually, which is surprising. I was looking at it, and I'm surprised at some of the ratings, but I love that movie.
Is Blue Chips the one with Shaq and Penny?
Yeah, Shaq and Penny and Nick Nolte before he became an absolute drunk.
I liked that movie.
It's great.
I thought it was a fun movie.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
That's because I like the NBA. I like basketball.
Yeah, me too. That's kind of my thing too. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah,
Okay,
he's
no
good.
basketball tangents tonight. No basketball tangents.
Yeah, I know.
tonight.
And I
Other
will
than-
say this:
other than fuck the Lakers.
seriously, I don't even want to talk about that right now. But you brought up Chainsaw. I made a promise to myself: I'm not going to bring up Chainsaw one time tonight.
You just did.
No, starting now.
I'm
Right
just
now.
kidding. No, I feel you. But that 10 minutes is long. The next scenes basically it establishes them in Georgetown University, Washington D.C. area, and it introduces what's her name, Chris, who's Ellen Burstyn, great actress, and her daughter Regan, who's played by Linda Blair, and Chris is a film actress.
Pretty famous too.
And in the story, she's very, very well known. And I guess she's in that area of Washington, D.C. because they're making a movie. She even has a PA, her assistant or whoever it is. No, not a PA, but an assistant. And they're living in this house and with their daughter who's 12 years old. By the way, Linda Blair, a very cute little girl, like very like innocent, very like in the opening of her introductory piece to her character. Like she's very cute, just very like, bubbly and kind of but the scene is this is my first question. Question number 1. Okay. And it's not a hard one. It's not overly complex. But Chris hears something in the attic. Okay. Chris hears something that she gets up. Then it proceeds to tell the housekeeper or whoever it is, the caretaker,
the Nazi.
Hey, there's rats. The Nazi. There's rats in the attic. Okay. So question number 1 for me is, what was in the attic?
I think it's
rats.
I think it's implied that it's the demon. I think that's the implication. I don't know, but that's the way I took it.
So we knew it. I mean, even watching it, you would know it's not rats. It's a horror film. But
in late,
it never explains it. I'm confused. I guess I'm presuming it's the demon, but it doesn't go any deeper. Like, why is he in the attic? You know what I mean?
There's so many things in this movie that I think they either need to drop altogether or they need to go into some detail on it, or at least have some sort of explanation. And it kind of bugs me a little bit that we get lots of stuff like this throughout the whole film. I don't know what's in the attic. I don't know why it's in the attic. I don't know why it hides out in the attic first. I will say, and I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, when she goes up into the attic, that was a creepy scene. I really enjoyed that. I liked it because there's no music. There's very little music in this, which I thought was very effective to not overload it with that, and it made it a little bit more realistic. But I like that scene when she's up there. I think it's super creepy.
Yeah, that one happens a little later after. Yeah, but she hears the rats again, and then she goes up. But that is it was really cool too when she's going up there. Things go dark, and then her little candle that she's using just blows into a flame.
Right. And you can't tell. I couldn't tell if she noticed it because she's kind of turning around at the same time, or if she did or didn't notice it happen, because it happened right in front of her face. But she was turning around to see the Nazi caretaker guy. I call him a Nazi because that's what one character calls him in the movie, just because he's German.
Yeah. And I know. No, that attic scene is good. Here's what I'm trying to piece together in my mind, and maybe and you help me answer it or think about it. Because after she goes and hears whatever it is in the attic, when she goes to check on her daughter in her room, her daughter's window is open.
Is this before the bed starts shaking?
Yeah. This is at the very beginning. This is right after we get out of that hellhole 10 minutes of...
Okay.
I'm being over dramatic. It's not that bad, but it's that opening 10 minutes. Now this is just, to be honest, this is the beginning of the film.
Yeah, this is where it should start.
But her window's open. So now I'm thinking, okay, Regan's window's open in the middle of the night. It's a little bit cold outside. And the theory for me would be that I guess the demon came through the window and into the attic right past Regan's bed.
I guess so. The way
I'm kidding. I was joking because why would he go right past Regan's bed?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the thing is, the way I kind of, looking back on it, the way I kind of interpret it is when Chris does go in the attic, I kind of feel like she's letting it loose. Even though the caretaker went up and put traps in there, because we see the traps that he set out. So we know for sure that he's been up there. But for me, it kind of feels like when she goes up there, she's letting the demon out.
Yeah, I like that. That's probably what happens. And that comes a little bit later. She goes up there later. But because right now, this next 10 minutes after that, we're just basically we're establishing characters. So Chris, Regan, and they have a real nice dynamic as a as a mother and a daughter. I like it.
What did you think of Chris as a character?
It's kind of a interesting thing because as a parent, I feel like she was a good parent. I thought she was pretty good. And then at the same time, she was almost too accepting of this behavior from her daughter in the sense that her daughter obviously has no control. I mean, I don't know. They built it pretty interestingly. I liked the character.
It was interesting, some of the choices they made, because she's kind of a bitch. Like, you see her at work when she's acting, and she's treating everyone like garbage. And, you've been on film sets. I've been on film sets. I've never seen an actor, even if they're arrogant, I've never seen an actor be that abrasive to people,
Oh, I see. I didn't get that. I really didn't feel
like the makeup person's coming up to her and she's like brushing her off and like trying to kind of throw her back. And she's not all that nice to the assistant.
But I think she was getting distracted by some protest going on. And so she was focused on going over there. No,
but wasn't that part of the scene? Wasn't that the film?
Oh, that is the film. Because it's not. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's part of the film. So she's acting.
Well, and she's probably acting, but then to contrast, what I thought it was pretty abrasive behavior, she obviously loves that little girl to death. She loves her daughter to death, and she's, you can see. I thought they did a great job of capturing that mother, like you said, that mother-daughter relationship, and how important they are to each other. I really like that.
I think the chemistry there between mom and daughter is great.
It almost feels like Reagan's the only thing she cares about in the world.
Yeah, all the other stuff's just subsidiary. It's just secondary.
I mean, even when her assistant says you got an invitation for dinner at the White House, she doesn't bat an eye. Like, she doesn't seem to care,
Yeah.
But when Reagan's there, she lights up. And I thought the movie doesn't work if you don't have that established.
You have to absolutely have that dynamic between mother and daughter. And I think they established that well. I didn't see her quite as a bitch, though. I didn't, because even after the scene, then she walks away. She's she's kind of very friendly. She's walking down the street. Kids are running down the street. She's smiling at them.
That's true.
So I think it's more that I think she's in that scene, in the character.
Maybe.
Quote,
and that could be. That could be.
But this is where we also get introduced to Father Karras, right? Incidentally, he's on this area close to the set, and he's walking. It's just a shot of him. We don't hear him. We don't hear him say anything or do anything. We just see him walking by, and in the background, that's a wrap because they're filming on the university property. So we get just a cross introduction of Father Karras. This is an interesting character.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure how to break this one down. He's a psychiatrist priest.
It's interesting. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I stepped on you.
No. That was the.
Well, because after this movie, I'm a sucker for possession movies and Exorcist movies and stuff like that. I love them. Like, to me, they're so much fun. They're
intriguing. They're interesting. They spark my curiosity for sure.
Yeah. And after this movie, obviously, this is kind of the movie that started that genre. And after this, it's almost like they went down the road of priests who have lost their way, who have lost their faith. And they have to find their faith by conquering this demon. Like, it's very cliched. And they didn't really fully do that. You could tell, like, he wants to leave because I think he wants to be a real psychiatrist, And I think that's kind of why he wants to leave. And he wants to be with his mother and all that kind of stuff. But he's not a priest. I thought 100% that they were going to go with the priest who totally lost his faith. And when his mother died, I was like, oh, that's what they're going to do. They're going to go down that road now. And they didn't, thank God, because that's so overplayed. So it's just interesting. He's a very curious character. I don't quite think I grasp the whole point of having the mother storyline.
Yeah, I think his character is interesting because I do sense and you do feel the internal conflict. And they're definitely playing with, like you were saying, the science versus religion aspect.
It's interesting
Right.
they married the two together.
I thought they did it really well.
I did
It's
too.
Quite interesting how they did it because what ends up happening is Father Karras, who's a psychiatrist, like you said, he's got the conflict of like, I want to leave the church and get into science purely, or you be a psychiatrist. But I thought they married the two, like you said, together really well.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I wasn't expecting that, and I thought they did a good job.
Because we make I don't want to jump forward too quickly, but basically what ends up happening right before, or I should say right after Chris comes home, she has this real kind of loving moment with her daughter. And then they're down in the basement looking. It's obvious they're like renting the house or whatever, or, you know, and her daughter pulls out a Ouija board.
Ouija board, yes. Like,
Okay,
so happy when I saw that.
Now we're gonna get something going.
It's like, yeah, all right, already we're getting creepy.
But I like what I do like that Friedkin does is creates a atmosphere that feels authentic. Like a lot of times when you do introductions to certain spooks and spectaculars, it's like very campy and very like, oh, like here's the big close-up shot of the thing moving in. Oh, she found a Ouija board under the bed.
The
And
ominous
it's like
string music starts playing.
Exactly. And I like that he creates something authentic, like, hey, Mom, look what I found. And she almost plays it off like it's kind of jokey. She doesn't care. I mean, it's just it's a Ouija board.
This is kind of like in most haunted house movies where like the kid will find a doll or something, like a creepy doll, you know, like she plays it off just like that. It's not like a big thing. It's just like, oh, you found a cool thing. All right, let's play, you know. It's like everyday life.
Exactly. And then this is where it kind of gets interesting because there's a little bit of an introduction there where they pull the Ouija board out, and then she says, Regan says something about Captain Howdy.
Captain Howdy.
Which
I love it, man. Like the real name of the demon in this movie is Pazuzu.
Yes. And that's what one of the questions for me was, at least when I was watching it as I was going through it in a linear fashion, who is Captain Howdy?
Yeah. It's the demon, right?
And that would be, now that we've seen it. And I didn't go into all that research, but we know that it's the demon that's, I would imagine he's introducing himself because she's obviously felt or seen or done something with the demon, right? Because she knows him by name. I think he's just introducing himself in sheep's and wolf in sheep's clothing, like I'm Captain Howdy. You know what I mean?
It's a very Stephen King-esque name, like something so out of the 1950s. Like,
yeah, I like it. It's funny, and
it's great.
Complete contrast to the demonic name. Is it Pazuzu?
Pazuzu, I think that's it. Yeah.
Which is
By the way, did you catch? They did show Captain Howdy a couple times, very briefly.
I did not. You have to plug.
Okay, they have two spots where they flash him on the screen.
Okay.
And one is when not Father Marin, how do I not know?
Father Karras?
Father Karras, yeah. One is when he was having his dream sequence where his mom's like going the subway and stuff.
Yeah, I know what
It
you're
flashes
talking
it for it's an eighth of a second. And then later on, he flashes on screen again when the exorcism starts. And he's more in pain. So it's cool. It's cool.
I do remember those quick montage cuts. And that bit of a montage specifically with the mother. And I remember seeing something flash, but I wasn't putting two and two together. I didn't realize that was actually him, the demon.
And if you're out there, go. I mean, it's a creepy little thing. Like it doesn't. If you see it, like search for the Exorcist demon face, and look for the images, and it'll pop up immediately. It's not super scary, but when in a
No, but it's
flash,
cool.
like William Friedkin wanted people to be unsettled, so he would kind of use it as almost like a subliminal message, I think, to kind of get people kind of freaked out a little bit.
And there's some, and those are interesting editorial choices from a montage perspective.
Yeah.
Like because they're not the same type of pacing as the film. The film's very slow, and then a few times he does these great conventional montage builds where they're quick cuts, and you're like you said, you're in an eighth of a second you're seeing the demon. But I liked his editorial style in that sense, where you change it up. So you pace it out, and then you throw in a quick montage. You build that convention, like, oh, that's interesting. And then you don't see that again till later, but it's kind of in the same style. It's more informative, and it's very cool stylistically. So I like the editing, too, by the way. It just brought me into that frame of thought.
I did, too. By the way, there's a CaptainHowdy.com.
CaptainHowdy.com.
I love this stuff so much.
What comes up in CaptainHowdy.com?
It's just like news about the actors and like when William Peter Blatty died. I mean, I don't think it's updated very often, but it's just
we might
stuff
have
like
to come
that.
back to that at the end.
Yeah, we will. It's a very old website.
That's hilarious. And then, but they get the Ouija board. Now she puts her hand on it, and they say, and there is some form of movement. But they shrug it off. They wrestle. They play. They go to bed. It's over. Quick introduction. Now we shift the story from Regan and Chris to a little bit of Father Karras, where we get an introduction of who this guy is. Because up to now, and we're 20 plus minutes in now, roughly, and now we get Father Karras. And Father Karras is basically, he's walking down the street. He looks like he's coming back from somewhere, but he goes into this old rickety apartment, which I thought was his initially. But then as we get in, we introduce that he's basically there to visit and check up on his mom.
Yeah. I don't quite understand. I don't know what this is I don't know what motivation this is giving him.
I liked it because to me, I mean, it's simple. And I think the motivation for me, at least, is just to show a certain level of the character, like the sympathy of the character. And it immediately, for me, kind of identifies what kind of person he is to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I don't know. I just don't. Typically, you're going to see some similarity between, the person, the character loses and the person that the character has to save. And I don't see many similarities between his mother and Regan.
He looks after her. He wraps her leg up. He checks on her. He leaves her some money, right?
By the way, I had to turn on subtitles when he was talking to his mom and when he was talking to his uncle later because I couldn't understand what the hell they were saying.
Yeah, the mom's very difficult to understand because she's speaking English-Greek.
Yes.
Or Greek-English.
Yeah.
However,
it's tough to understand. I had to turn on the subtitles.
And so... And those are, I think those scenes might even be reversed. I don't know, but they're in that, we get the introduction, the parallel sides of each character. We get Regan and Chris, and then we get Father Karras, basically. We're introduced to them. What's the initial thought quickly on him as a character? I mean, we kind of talked about the dynamic between mom and daughter. What do we like or dislike about Father Karras?
And you know what? I'm going to pull a Gabe on this one. I just kind of indifferent to him. Like I don't dislike him, but I don't. He's not super engaging or charismatic. And to me, like this, the parts with him and his backstory. That's when I started to get bored. That's when I was like, okay, let's just get to the creepy stuff. I don't know. To me, and I think I'm in the vast minority here, but I just don't. He's fine. Like he's fine. I think he was okay. I don't know if it was the casting that threw me off or the character or the writing or what it was, but for me, I didn't really care. Again, didn't dislike him, just didn't really have any feelings for him.
Because we talked I think we liked the characters of mom and daughter, at least to a degree. Mm-hmm. And you just were like, give two shits about Father Karras.
Yeah, I really couldn't. I like Father Marin much more.
Father Marin's interesting. I liked Father Karras because, once again, I'm a sucker for the traditional approach to a character, which is to show the self-conflict, internal conflict, because the follow-up scene is him just having a discussion with a fellow priest about his internal conflict of religion versus psychiatry and wanting to get out of the practice and get out of the structure of the religion and this internal conflict. I mean, it's a bit of an easy ploy to use to develop the character in terms of the duality, but I liked it. So I actually liked him. I think what you're saying, for me at least, I can understand what you're saying, is the indifference comes in the fact that, I mean, his character and the performance itself, and it's probably how Friedkin wanted him to do it, but it's very subdued. It's just a subdued, low, kind of droll-paced acting style, right?
Yeah, and I think it works. It definitely works. Like when he had his interactions with Chris, I liked those scenes. When he had the interactions with the demon Captain Howdy, I loved those scenes. I thought those were great.
Yeah.
But just something about him and the mundane life that he's leading that just didn't do anything for me.
And then as we're moving through the story, we're cutting back and forth. We're back with Chris and with Regan. And where's the dad in all this? That was my other question.
I think, and this is something that I thought they did really well. The dad is obviously very absent now, and just kind of the nature
He's
of
Europe absent.
Yeah, Europe
He's
absent.
Like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I mean, just by the nature of celebrities, you kind of get the sense that maybe he's a celebrity too, and maybe he's working on a project, or maybe he just left, or who knows, because celebrities tend to get married and divorce quite a bit. So who knows? But I did like how Chris is angry that he has abandoned Reagan.
Yeah.
To me, that just shows that she, like, because a lot of people, they get divorced and they're very bitter, and that they will, they'll kind of use the kids as pawns. But Chris, her only concern is Reagan and how she's feeling in all this. Like when she's on the phone with the operator trying to get a hold of him because he didn't call his daughter on her birthday. Like, to me, that's when I was like, yeah, I like her. I like Chris.
Yeah. And we see, as an audience, we see Regan listening in secretively.
Yeah.
On her mom yelling, like showing the passion about the father being, not checking in. Then she gets a random call, which I assume late at night, like 2 or 3 in the morning, which I assume is him. And it's, or I would guess, or maybe it was Rome. I can't remember. Anyway, the real point of the scene is that she wakes up and realizes that Regan's in the bed next to her because she can't sleep. And Regan basically is like, I can't sleep. And then she says her bed was shaking.
Right. Which, I mean, pretty creepy. It's pretty creepy.
So,
and now, with hindsight, everyone, even people who haven't seen the movie, know what the hell's going on here. They know that the bed was actually shaking.
But it's an interesting little plot device because as you rewatch it or see it for the first time, it starts to build the curiosity. Things are going to escalate from here. They can only keep going way higher because it's a little creepy, like you said. And then the mom goes to check it out, and this is where I believe, Alan, we talked about this scene, and she goes to look at the bed, but what she ends up doing is going to the attic.
Yes.
And she goes to the attic with her little candelabra, her little holder, and nice little jump scare here.
Yeah, it was cool, man. It was cool. I honestly, The Exorcist is so well regarded that you almost, for me, I'm thinking, well, there's probably not going to be many jump scares. It's probably just going to be, one of these really pretentious, important horror movies, and they don't typically do that. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with that. That whole attic scene, like I said, freaked me out, man. It was creepy.
The attic scene's freaky too because up to this point, they haven't shown any handheld shots. And everything's been pretty smooth with really consistent movement. And when she gets up to the attic, we see a POV of a handheld.
Yeah.
And for me, to a degree, I think for anybody almost, there starts to, because you're both seeing it from the perspective of the person, and the image on the frame starts kind of moving as if, has that little bit of wobbliness where we've been so straight-laced up to this point. I mean, that's a real good shot because then it cuts to. It's a weird cut too, by the way. I really studied this scene. I know this particular scene because I thought it was interesting how they cut it too. Because she's walking forward, and then the POV shot, and then all of a sudden, that cut was weird because the candle blows up big, right? Which is like a startling for me. That's kind of was the startling thing because she gasps, and then it's a weird cut, by the way. If you rewatch it, she turns around and she sees. The Carl or the what's his name the Nazi. Well, we did talk about his having the first 10 minutes being Indiana Jones, and it would make sense to have Nazis.
Nazis fit right in there, yeah. By the way,
but anyway, good scene, well cut together, nice spook scare, really well done. I liked it a lot.
One character I actually really want to get your impression of this guy is what is his name? The director, Burke Dennings.
Oh, I can't remember. Yeah,
This goddamn guy. What did you think of him?
I mean, I thought he fit the mold.
He sure did.
Now, here's the deal. Look, we know that there's stereotypes, point blank, period, in whatever it is. This would definitely fall under one of those. So I understand that not all directors are like this. And the feature film that I edited, the director was nothing like this.
Right.
But I mean, so I get that not everybody's like this. But when you think of the stereotype, pretentious filmmaker, is this not what you see?
Honestly, the whole time I'm thinking, this is William Friedkin. I don't know if he intentionally is parodying himself, but this is him. Like, this is when I think of William Friedkin, I think of this guy.
This guy, yeah. It's definitely a self-reflection. This is a mirror character.
I hope so.
Mirror character of him.
Because I think Friedkin, and I don't know much about him, but the stuff I've seen from him and the interviews I've seen with him, he seems, and I could be wrong, I could be way off in my perception, he seems to take himself pretty seriously. And he seems to take this exorcism stuff very seriously. I don't know if you've seen that new documentary that he made. It's like the devil and father son. I'll look it up while we're doing this. It's awful. It's on Netflix. It's awful. It's supposedly following. I didn't even make it through the whole thing. It's supposedly following a real priest as he performs an exorcism on someone, and William Friedkin is featured prominently in this thing. And
I have some news for you as well. We'll save it till the end. But now you're saying he has an actual documentary about an exorcism.
Yes.
That because now he's the filmmaker and the resident expert.
Yes. That's the whole thing. Is like, because he made this movie 40 years ago, he's obviously the guy who knows everything about exorcisms now.
Well, here's the thing though. Like, if I was making a documentary about exorcism, I might want him in it too, because culturally, the dude built one of the biggest movies cultural standpoint.
Well, no doubt. I mean,
you know what I mean?
No doubt. I would want him in it. He directed it, and he put himself in the movie prominently.
Oh, he directed it.
Yes.
I got you. I didn't catch the two sides.
No,
okay,
because
so
I totally agree. If I'm making a documentary on exorcism, I'm absolutely trying to get an interview with him. I want him in the doc for sure.
First, I'm going to go Linda Blair, and then I'm going to go Friedkin.
Totally.
Linda. I don't know. She was great. But yeah, I'm with you. I got you now. So he was directing and starring in his own documentary.
Yes, exactly. It's just like it's kind of like how there's a zombie documentary. It's about zombies, and of course you have.
Only you would know that.
I know, it's great. Of course you have Bruce Campbell, Ash from Evil Dead. You know, like. You have Simon Pegg, and you have all these guys who have made zombie movies. Obviously, you do that, you know. But I don't know if you direct it and make yourself a starring role in it
in your own documentary.
Yes.
Well, we'll get into Friedkin a little later. I have a couple pieces of news.
Okay.
On that.
It's, by the way, the doc is called The Devil and Father Amorth. It is on Netflix. I do know that.
Go check it out, everybody, before you watch The Exorcist.
Watch The Exorcist first. Yeah, watch that.
So We get the jump scare in the attic. Obviously, there's no rats, but we know there's some kind of evil spirit or some kind of, for lack of a better way to say it, some kind of poltergeist, because now we have, it's noisy. It's a noisy ghost, but then also the flame ignites, etc. But now we go back, and this is the whole editing style, which is like, let's show mother-daughter, let's show father, Karras, right? Because now we go back, and now we're getting back for a few minutes into Father Karras's line of action, his story, which is his mom's now in the hospital. Did she fall? Anyway, she's in a psych ward. No?
Yeah, I didn't get. She had, what is it? She had, it's a thing where blood pools in your leg. Edema. She had edema in her leg. And from what I understand, again, I had to turn on subtitles while Father Karras is talking to his uncle. But from what I understand, somehow that affected her brain. So, and no hospital would take an edema case. And so they put her there. The logic is pretty shoddy, if you ask me. I didn't quite understand it.
And he arrives and he's basically telling her, "Look, I'm going to get you out of here."
Right.
You know. And it's also a very creepily shot scene in the sense that, like, it feels very One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest Psycho War.
Oh yeah, dude. When all those people are coming up to him and touching him. I just want to start swinging.
And then once again, we go back to a line of action, and Chris is at home having a party with, I can presume to be the cast and different people, celebrities, etc. She's having a party at her house.
And this is where the director gets pissed drunk, just out of his mind, lit, and starts calling the German guy a Nazi.
Yeah, they're in the kitchen, and he's just going over him, calling him a Nazi pig, and he's just...
Again... What is this? I mean, I kind of understand what they're doing here. I kind of like later on, it kind of dawned on me that we need a motive for potential murder here. But I really didn't understand. I don't know. It just, the whole thing didn't seem like it seemed unnecessary.
We're not sad when that's it. When he meets his demise, we're not sad.
True. I don't care at all. In fact, I didn't even know who they were talking about.
For a second, it took me a minute. Yeah, I'm with you. I was like, wait, who's... Okay. Oh, the direct...
I had to look it up. I had to look up the character name.
Yeah. But they're at the party. He's getting pissed drunk. He's basically a douchebag. And then they're all having a grand old time, and Regan's upstairs, what we presume to be sleeping, and then she makes her way downstairs. And here's where we get This was... an interesting scene. This was a spooky scene. It was creepy.
Honestly, this is one of the scariest scenes in the movie for me.
She comes down and she says something to it's like a prophetic statement in a way that she says.
She says, "You're going to die up there.
You're going to die." She's talking to an astronaut or a pilot or somebody, and then pees on the floor.
Dude, what would you do? What would you do if you're having like friends over and you're having a good time and your kid gets out of bed, comes down, tells one of your friends that they're going to die, and then pees on the floor? Like, what are you doing at that point?
She's also very she's kind of weary. It almost feels like she's sleepwalking. And her mom is like, "Oh my," and she grabs her and they go upstairs and she gives her like a bath and like tries to like whatever. She's not feeling well, right? So there's obviously something wrong. That would be the biggest concern for me. Like, not only the embarrassment of like your kid coming in and peeing on the party floor, but on top of that, just the concern. Like, okay, well it's so in a way out there. Like,
right.
There's a lot of concern going on in my mind, is what I mean.
Well, especially, because Regan, from what we've seen so far, is a sweet girl. Like, she's very nice and kind and fun-loving.
Good contrast.
Exactly. So it was the fact not only that she pees on the floor, but that she says you're gonna die.
You're gonna die.
Oh man! And I like this. Could have been a very easy. They could have gone the route of Chris getting upset with her or being super embarrassed, or that
she wasn't at all.
She doesn't care. All she cares about is the well-being of her daughter. And I love that they do that. The movie doesn't work without it.
Yeah, that's a great point, because a lot of times, and you'd be so frustrated potentially that you burst out in anger or you're
Right,
mad.
right.
You know?
I know. I mean, I've never had this situation, but I know there are times when
I'd
I've
be-
gotten upset when I probably should have been more empathetic with my kids, for sure.
Yep, happens all the time as
Yeah.
a parent. So yeah, I do like that Chris is definitely a lot more patient than I would probably be.
You're
But I would
peeing on the
definitely-
carpet.
Yeah.
Jeez.
What the hell are you doing? but there is a lot of concern. I mean, obviously, you make a statement like that and concern. Now, what ends up happening is after she goes back to bed or puts her back down, then we're starting to see, once again, poltergeisty activity where lights in the house are flickering, and she yells. And this is where she comes back in, and the bed's just violently shaking. You know.
Yeah, and Chris gets on the bed with her, and it's still going.
See, and this is where I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Potentially, maybe. We always talk about these in our breakdowns, which at what point are you out of that location?
Oh, I'm gone. But I mean, yeah, absolutely. I'm gone when the candle flares up. Like, I'm not waiting
For
around for the
being
bed to start shaking.
For being a horror fanatic,
Yeah, I don't like it in real life.
Your scale of what's it called?
Well, that's the thing is I've studied this stuff so well because I've seen so many horror movies that I know when to get out, and that's when you get out.
So I'm always a late move, not late, but I'm later than you in terms of the moves. I think we did this breakdown in this Psycho in our Psycho
Yeah,
podcast.
I think we did.
But so you're out with the bed starts shaking.
Yeah, no, I'm out before that. I'm not even in the house anymore.
You're done with the ignited flame in the attic.
We're back in LA. This movie be damned.
You're like we're not doing. Man, you're like
Production
you're
either
fucking
has to move to
dumb.
LA or we just got to cancel, and that's it because I am not. Or I may be staying in, finding another place to live, but I'm definitely not living in that place anymore.
So this is a good segue into one of my other questions. Is the demonic Pazuzu? I'll just call him the demon.
Yeah, that's cool.
The demon. So the demon is released based on the Ouija board or the demon attachment to the location?
I have no
Or is
idea.
it just through the means of the Ouija board? Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah, I think the Ouija board. I think the fact that Reagan was playing with the Ouija board, I think that's the first contact it had with humans, and so that's why it went for her.
Yeah. So this is where I got confused because we have usually when you think of horror when it comes to the supernatural, there's like a location is the portal or a house is the portal
Right.
or in this case the Ouija board or a person or what, you know what I mean? There's usually, I'm confused what does the amulet have to do with it?
I have no idea. I have
Is that
no
too
idea.
early to get into that question?
Because she doesn't even
that's
have the
more later
amulet.
on, but-
She doesn't even have it. Like, it's with Father
Doesn't
Marin.
have the amulet. She just calls the Ouija. All right, so we're moving forward with the Ouija board. That's fine.
I'm just gonna say right
I'll
now,
bring it
the
back up
amulet
when we
I
get
think
to the
is
end.
I think the amulet's totally unnecessary. I don't understand. I don't know
Okay.
what it's doing for the
Maybe
film.
it's- Maybe it's just a token prop throughout.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Like there's a lot in this movie where I'm like it's unnecessary. Why is this in here?
Right.
Like why is Father Marin or
Well,
Father
we'll get back,
Karras a boxer?
Kara.
Why is he a boxer? What does that have to do with
I don't
anything? Like what?
He's going to box out the demon.
Yeah, I guess.
He's going to box those demons out. He's gonna
That's what you
fight
got to
those-
do, man.
Alan, did you not hear Father Marin? Are you tired? You got to have fucking endurance.
That's true. But I'll tell you
You're
what, Father Marin
exercising
had more endurance than Father Karras. Because he was like he knew how
Father
to pace himself. He knew what he was doing. He's like 90 years old and he's still fighting demons.
Yeah. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
That's going to come at the end. Keep that in mind. He does. He's got stamina for an old man.
He sure does.
But so here we go. We're back to the bed shaking, but then after that we're back. And I actually, once again, I like the editing style because it's clean. So we introduce this character, and then we go here, and then we're Father Karras, and then we're mom and daughter, and then we're Father Karras, and because eventually these two are going to connect, right?
Right.
But he's drunk. He's getting drunk. Can priests drink?
Apparently they can drink and smoke because they were smoking and drinking and So
he's plowed. He's out.
yeah, he's done.
His so much that his buddy, his fellow, I don't know if it's his fellow priest, but his friend takes him home.
Well, and he's
lays him down,
drinking
and
because his mother died, but like we just kind of hear it
yes,
by
good-
word of mouth.
Good piece of information.
And it was
to say
super weird the way it was explained, because another priest tells Chris, who doesn't even know Father Karras, that Father Karras' mother died, but we just barely saw her just get put in the hospital. And
Yeah, this was a weird.
and he even says she was living by herself and no one found her for a couple days, but she was living in the
Right.
hospital, so none
So
of it
the
made
only
any
assumption
sense.
is, the assumption is there's a passing of time.
Okay,
Right. I get exactly what you're saying. The only assumption is there's a passing of time and she's discharged and left to go. Do you know what I mean?
okay,
Like,
okay. So she's been
we don't-
discharged.
it's-
Okay.
that would be
I
the
see.
guess. But I get exactly what you're saying, because it becomes confusing. But just know when you're watching it, let's just pretend the mom got discharged and now she's home and she's dead.
Okay, that makes more sense. I was just thinking, like, is this just rumor? Like, what is? I didn't quite understand what was going on, but I'm glad
Okay,
that
but-
was explained.
When he comes to his buddy, his fellow priest friend, I forget his name. He comes into play later for no significant reason. But
I'm sensing
but
a
I do
theme.
I do love this. I do love this next scene. I really, really do. I like showing images over words, and I like that there's no music. And Father Karras is sleeping, and he has a dream. And he's dreaming about his mom. I loved this scene. It's like his mom. I didn't get why the amulet. So here's the thing. The amulet's introduced. This is one of those editorial montages that we were talking about. And he's in a dream sequence. So it makes sense that things are disorienting and different and quick cuts and etc. But the amulet's dropping. So I'm only trying to bring this up because is the amulet more important than we initially think it is? Because I'm with you. I'm not trying to bring it all together. I don't understand it. But nonetheless, the amulet's dropping. Then there's a cut to a dog. Okay. It is weird, but I love it. And then there's a flash cut to his mom, right? And then like clocks and his mom emerging from the subway. Like all this crazy stuff's happening. I liked how it was filmed. I liked that he's waving at his mom, trying to get her attention. And there's this distance between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically yells his name and then walks back down the subway. And this is also where I think this is what you were alluding to, which now I don't remember what it looks like, but I remember what you're talking about. We see a flash of a demon.
Yes. Yeah.
In the cut.
Yeah. Pazuzu's flashed in there. I don't know what the dream means. And maybe it's just because I'm stupid, but to me, it just feels kind of a little pretentious. Like usually,
I don't think so.
Usually,
Not
you
in
want to
this one.
have. Well, I mean, could
Put
you
on the fucking gloves? Let's go.
Well, were you able to interpret it? Because
I was. I'll tell you what I think
and that's what I'm saying is maybe I'm just stupid because I don't know what it could possibly mean, and I don't really care.
I got you. I loved the first. I just like how it's inaudible. So in other words,
I like
you
that
don't-
with no sound. I've really
with
enjoyed
no
that.
sound.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the disconnect. This is how I interpret it. And I don't mean to get over pretentious in the interpretation either, but I liked how they did it because it showed an abstract approach to how he was feeling about losing his mom, which was basically the distance between them, right? He's on the other side of this, way on the other side of the street, trying to get her attention. She emerges from the subway, yells his name, the demon flashes, she goes back down. So what it means to me in theory is the distance between him and his mom. Like it's like he couldn't close that. He feels regret, or he feels, what's the word I want to use here? He feels upset.
I think he feels some guilt.
Guilt. Thank you. That's what I was searching for. He feels guilty about how his mom died, and now he can't close that gap. It feels distance in the way they left. So I liked that. I actually didn't, until you mentioned it, didn't understand or remember. I remember seeing it, but not understanding the flash of the demon in those cuts. And I think that's just introductory to the demon, for whatever reason,
Right.
having some weird connection to Father Karras.
Yeah, I think it's more supposed to be a subliminal type of thing, and maybe I don't know. Okay, all right. I just thought of this, and I haven't worked out in my brain, so stay with me.
Okay.
This is a very, very rough draft. Maybe because you got a dog, you got the amulet, you got the dog, you got Subway, and you got the demon in there.
Yep.
Maybe the Subway is hell. Maybe he's worried about his mother going to hell.
Yep.
The dog is a hellhound bringing her to hell, and
Yep.
and of course there's a demon which is associated with hell. Maybe that's, I don't know.
I like where you're going with that, because now that that's what, when I was saying like emerging and then submerge, like up and down, right? So hell in the Subway. So yeah, I like it.
Okay.
I do.
All right.
Yeah. I'm with you. I like that a lot.
I'm a freaking genius.
Genius. We should call this podcast Breaking the Exorcist.
Exactly.
By Alan Martindale.
Damn right. It's what I do.
Then we get a cross-cut scene here. Regan's now in the psych ward herself. She's yelling and screaming at people.
Oh my God. And I got to say, this movie is comedy at times. It's funny. And I don't think it's intentional, but it's funny at times. Like when she's she's with the doctors, and there's something about kids swearing that is hilarious to me. I love it. It's like my favorite thing in the world when kids swear.
Oh, it's like she throws it out too.
And she calls him a fucking bastard.
Yes.
And she spits in his face. And to me, that's just comedy gold. And I know it's supposed to be disturbing. It's supposed to be like, you're worried about her. But to me, it was just funny.
It is funny, actually. And it is disturbing in a sense, because now this sweet little girl is changing into something entirely different.
Right, right.
But there's definitely some comic relief to it as well.
I loved it, man. I thought it was hilarious.
But now what we're getting is the introduction of the doctors or scientists, right? So we have the scientific approach, the science nature to it. They're talking about the convulsion in the bedroom and the spasms and all these things, and they're trying to identify the problem.
Right. And they have no idea what it is.
They have no idea. And so
when they make the house call to her, though, this is another funny part. They come in the room and she's flopping up and down on the bed. That is hilarious. I don't know how that was even scary in 1973, because that's funny. When she's like, "Mommy, help me," and she's just like up like speed sit-ups. It's hilarious. That was so funny.
The doctors tell the mom, though, it's something in the brain. That's all they say, and they try to basically identify it. And so this is, I think they say a lesion, don't they? I think they say it's a lesion in her brain. It was a little bit of a weak plot point. I mean, do lesions, that much? I mean, I know they can affect, obviously, your cognitive skills and motor skills and things, but like that seemed like a bit of a cop-out.
Yeah, it seemed like a definite plot point. But I'll tell you what, it was very effective when they get her in the hospital and they're doing those tests, and I don't know what they were doing, but when she's wide awake and they stick her with the needle, and then they put the little pin in her neck and the blood squirting out. Like, as a parent, that's the scariest part to me, because I mean, my daughter hates needles. I took her to get a flu shot the other day.
Yeah. And
that was traumatic for me to see her have to like worry about, like, obviously the shot's not so bad, but it's the whole waiting and worrying and getting nervous. Like, to me, it's terrifying. I can't imagine being in a medical room, a sterile room like that with doctors all around, and I'm on the other side of glass, and seeing that kind of thing happen to my kid would wreck me. To me,
also,
that's the scariest part.
Yeah, because that parental, when you're unable as a parent to do something for your child, when they're going through some kind of traumatic event, probably one of the worst things possible.
Absolutely.
So-
Especially when something is like this, you have no idea what's going on. The doctors don't seem to know what's going on. They're telling you that this might help, but they don't know. All you can do is trust them. That's all you can do, and there's no guaranteed answer. And you're putting your child through hell in order to try and fix this thing. This is a nightmare scenario for me.
Nightmare scenario, and it's filmed really well because there's this kind of authentic nature to it. Because when they stick her in the neck with that tube or that needle, I mean, to get the IV or whatever they're doing, and the blood squirts out, and then they shove the tube. Like
it feels so
like
real.
It feels very real.
Oh,
it feels very real. And then they do an MRI or a CAT scan, something to monitor her brain. And they start looking at it, and they're just like, they can't find anything wrong.
Well, and let me say one thing about the MRI and all that stuff. The use of sound in these scenes, when they're doing all these medical, I guess procedures on her. I think the sound it's so jarring, and it's so technical and machine-like, and it's just the way the sound was mixed. I thought was great because it really drives home that fear.
And this film wins, I believe, a Best Sound Academy Award.
Well deserved, I think.
And so, yeah, I agree. But then we get to your favorite scene, which is the hilarious scene where she's flopping up and down.
Oh, is that okay? Yeah, is that now? Okay, I thought that was before.
So, but it's basically, you know what that's. I mean, it is hilarious. Let's not.
It's so
pretend
funny.
It's not. And then what it basically feels like is then Ace Ventura pays homage to it when he jumps in the tank in Ace Ventura, and he's like, the well comes up. And he's tossed around. It's an homage to he's just flopping up and down. It's an homage to The Exorcist.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
And of course Jaws. But like it feels like that. That's what this scene because it's a comedy. Like that's what this part of the scene feels like when she's like, "Please, mother," and she's just flopping up and down.
I'm still laughing about it. It's hilarious. And I don't even think it's meant to be at all.
No, it's definitely not meant to be. Some cool shots though. Like this is where we get I liked the scene though after we got past that. Because that she starts throwing out some serious
Oh God, yeah. It's just every offensive thing you could ever think of anyone saying, she's spitting out. It's hilarious.
And it's also disturbing in a way because it's a child.
Right. And they've established that she's very childlike. Like she might be 12. I think in the movie she's supposed to be 12, but they kind of treat her like she's younger.
I mean, there's like sexual not even innuendos, Alan.
Oh, dude, when we get to the cross part, oh my God.
But after she's flopping up and down, this is where we get the reason I'm bringing it up is because it's like a real introduction into the demon where she jumps up on the bed and the doctor comes up and she punches him in the face. It was hilarious. It was awesome.
Funny too.
I loved it though.
It was great.
Then it got creepy because then she's like, "Keep away, the sow is mine."
Yes.
And then she starts going, "Fuck me," and starts and I'm like, "What?" This is where here's the thing. Then it wasn't funny. I was like, "What the?"
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why people thought it was so shocking because it's just hitting you with some pretty crazy, unheard of stuff at the time, especially for a child. You know, this isn't an adult playing a child's role. This is an actual child.
Yeah. They get her subdued. Finally, they throw some kind of medicine in her. They get her subdued, and then they start talking. They want to keep doing tests. So the doctors want to keep doing scientific tests to figure out what's wrong with her. This is what I liked about how he played it. Okay, you had the one side just wanting to do the science, and then the other side, which is more the religious side of it, right?
Yep.
And I thought he played that really well, but they end up blaming it on like a split personality type disorder.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, I think someone throws it out there, and the doctor says that there's only been like 100 cases of that or something, which I think is correct.
Yeah.
Like it's not a thing really. It's very, very few and far between.
what I love they did here is like when you see the physical look of Chris, the mother, like she looks distraught, she looks exhausted, she looks, I love that you're seeing the physical portray the inside.
Yes.
It's great.
Yeah.
But they can't explain it. Basically what it comes down to is they can't figure this thing out, and they're just going over it every which way, trying to figure out, asking Chris questions, basically in some sense interrogating her about what's going on in their life, etc. And then this is where, as you keep going through, we get an introduction. We go back to Father Karras. No, we don't go back to Father Karras. I'm sorry. We go to after they can't figure it out. Now we have your favorite, because what's his face dies, the director.
Yeah. Totally explained off screen, which is fine. It would have been fun to see this, but I understand you can't show this because then you don't understand. Like, there's a little bit of a mystery,
right?
Because by the way, when the cop gets involved, I thought he was great too. I really enjoyed him.
Oh yeah, the detective's awesome.
He's fantastic, and how he's explaining how his head was turned all the way around, so someone had snapped his neck essentially.
Well, first off, this is what I didn't understand, and maybe you can shine some clarity, because Chris, the mother's gone, the assistant left. She decided to leave Regan under the watchful eye of the director guy.
Yeah, of Burke.
Of Burke. Like, why was she with the doctors? The mom?
I think she was with the doctors. She must have been. And then the assistant went to go get medication or something.
She left, and then and so what's appeared to be, he's like thrown out the window of Regan's bedroom, but his head's completely flipped around. And they don't show it, but of course they just talk about it.
Right. And I get it, because you need to have that mystery. You don't want to know who killed him, because remember at the party, Burke was pretty rough on the guy who's working at the house, who he called a Nazi.
Right.
So there's some motive, because the Nazi guy at the party got in his face, and he was pretty pissed off.
They had a scuffle. They had a scuffle.
And so the Nazi he's got some motive to want to kill him.
And so they're kind of setting it up as, or to a degree, slightly like this possible murder.
Right.
But and that's what leads the introduction of the detective into the story, is he's trying to figure out Burke's murder. This is a high profile director, so obviously your best man's going to be on it.
So what did you think of introducing a cop and an investigation into this?
Man, this is where, I thought, here's the one thing he does well. When you take multiple storylines and you're able to figure out how to intertwine them, I thought he did that pretty well. There's a level of it that becomes unnecessary from the cop perspective. I don't know that it's that B storyline, even almost C storyline, really.
Right,
it's not even the B storyline, it's the C storyline. I like his acting, I like the character, but it's fine. It helps flow, but it also look. I also understand this is based off a novel, right? So in the novel, you can have A, B, C, and D storylines, and it all can kind of work. It's harder to do that in a 2-hour formatted movie.
Yeah, not only was it a novel, but they let the writer of the novel write the screenplay too,
which I thought he did a good job.
I thought he did too, but sometimes you want someone new tackling the work so they can figure out how to adapt a little bit better. I just thought, I love the character of the cop. I thought it was a little convoluted, primarily for when it comes to the ending, because I think it would have been a much messier ending than it actually was, because you have police involved.
Right. And we'll get into that, because I have a couple thoughts on the ending. But basically, this introduction of the detective who starts grilling and basically not investigating, but getting thoughts from Father Karras. I wasn't sure of how that got started. I was a little confused there.
From what I understand is he's trying to, because Father Karras, he's not only a priest, but he's also a psychiatrist. So he can see patients I assume he can see patients, and he can take confession or whatever. So I think the cop was trying to see because there was also someone desecrating the churches.
That's what it was.
And so,
because they're talking about witchcraft or homicide.
yes. And so the cop, it seems to me like he thinks the two are related. Like the same person did both. And so he's trying to kind of press Father Karras, who, you know anyone who could do this? You've been talking to anybody? You have any patients? You have any parishioners? Anyone who you think might be doing this? And Father Karras is kind of hiding behind the patient, what is it, doctor-patient confidentiality thing.
Right.
And there's some fun back and forth there. And I thought that was really cool.
No, I agree. There is some fun back and forth. It's almost like the detective in Psycho,
Yeah.
It has that kind of vibe where Milton, Arbogast,
that's right, Arbogast.
And but that kind of sly detective vibe where they're not pushy, but they can formulate questions in a way that they get the answer they want. And I agree with you. There's a little convolution to it. You don't potentially need the C storyline, but for what it's worth, he makes it work.
Oh, for sure. I just think, this movie desperately needs to be cut a half hour. A half hour needs to be cut out of it. And I don't know where you do it. I did love the
when he talks about watching movies and critiquing film, because this is the detective talking to Father Karras.
Right.
And I was thinking, when I was watching that, I'm like, hey, I love this guy. He's talking about how he likes to go to the movies and then he likes to break them down and analyze them after.
I know. That's fun. I was like, hey, that's what we're going to do, man.
Yeah, no. And he's like, my wife hates it. You want to go to the movie with me? I got tickets.
But what the hell was it? Was he trying to bribe it? What was that?
He was trying to bribe him.
Is that what it was? He's bribing him with movie tickets?
I guess. It was funny.
A movie, first of all, that Father Karras has already seen. So it's not like a sneak preview. It's not like going to a premiere. It's just like, hey, I got some movie tickets. You want to go see a movie?
I think he says Othello or something.
Yeah. And it's like, dude, if you're going to bribe someone, you want to reach a little higher than movie tickets.
Father Karras even says, he's like, I've seen it 6 times or something like that.
Exactly.
It's like, it's not much of an incentive here. Nice try, dude. So there's the introduction, and then we go back to the storyline again of Regan and Chris, and Regan's in the hospital, and she's now she's strapped down, she's going nuts, like absolutely insane, and you're starting to see like physical scarring or in some kind of mutilation. Her face is her lips are dry, she's dehydrated, cuts on her face.
Is this where she grabs the psychiatrist by the balls?
No, I think I don't know. It's in that ballpark. Yeah.
Again, that's hilarious, man. Like that's slapstick comedy, and it's not meant to be. It's funny.
She grabs him by the balls and then jumps on him.
Come on. It's funny because it wouldn't be funny in a comedy because it's so lowbrow and stupid, but because it's supposed to be some like super well-regarded film with accolades and everything, that's what makes it so funny to me.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. She ends up getting back to the house, and in the meantime, the detective is on the case. This is another question. Okay, here's another question. So he finds something outside their house, that the window that Burke fell out and died in. What was that thing? Do you know what I'm referring to?
I thought it was a little figurine.
Okay, that's what it looked like, but I couldn't identify as like a little clay figure.
Didn't Father Marin find something like that in the dig? It seems like he found a little figurine or something.
It was was it the demon figurine? Was it?
Again, even if he did, why?
Doesn't matter.
Why? What are we doing with this thing?
I think
there's too many things.
It's too convoluted, and what he's trying to do is misdirect you.
Right.
To a degree. At some point, there's no misdirection because Regan's basically jumped up crazy, cursing and swearing.
Right. Well, at this point, they go pretty far into the whole: is she possessed? Is she not possessed? Like it's kind of half-assed, but they do it for a long time.
That's true, and also at this point, because there's a murder on the scene, if you're watching this for the first time, because everyone knows what the movie is, it probably doesn't sell like it did in 1973.
Right.
but maybe back then it probably sold a little more on a misdirection.
Probably.
Then they find so anyway, Regan's back at the house, right? She's now out of the psych ward or whatever it is. She's basically heavily sedated. They basically have her tied up, like strapped down in the bed. And this was interesting to me. Was like, I wasn't sure how to take any of this. I mean, you have the religious side of it. The mom's got to know this. I mean, okay, if this was truly happening, it's got to be some kind of paranormal deal.
Honestly, I don't think I'd go there yet. I mean, I'm pretty close. I'm at the point where I'm entertaining any options, but I'm not sure if I'm sold on that kind of thing quite yet. Even though, although the bed moving around, the candle, that kind of stuff, that's probably it.
See, I'm sold now, and the house is gone. I'm not living in the house anymore.
Oh, no, of course not. Of course, no way.
That's what I mean. Now is my point. You jump ship when the fucking candle flickered.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm jumping ship now, is my point. I've come back. Scientists can't tell me anything. Things seem crazy. They have my daughter sedated and strapped down to my bed.
Right.
I'm going back to L.A. I'm going to Cedars-Sinai, the big, nice hospital where docs, and I'm getting the fuck out of D.C.
Yeah, man. It's super. Has she done the cross thing yet? I think that's right around now, isn't it?
It's right around now. She finds, I think, or in this ballpark, these are talking about finding the cross under the pillow.
Yeah, and then where Regan starts masturbating violently with the cross.
Yes. Yes.
Jesus Christ, man. Like, it's a child, like if this was an adult, I'd be like, okay, this is a little over the top. But because it is a child, that's what makes it so shocking.
Yeah, she's like you said, just leave it there.
There's blood. Let's just say there's blood. A lot of blood.
And also Chris comes up. This is where she punches her mom too. Right?
Yeah, she does a couple things to her mom, that's for sure.
And this now there's no question.
Yeah, because the door slams, she's trapped in the room.
Shut, the sofa slides in front of it.
The dresser comes tumbling at her.
Dresser comes shooting over. And she's saying,
it's pretty bad, man. Like, first of all, she's being very violent with that cross, so there's blood everywhere. And then, she shoves Chris's head down to her crotch, and so Chris has blood all over her face. And then the room goes crazy. Like, at this point, it's like, yeah, no, we're getting rabbis, we're getting priests, we're getting every sort of religious figure I can find to cast out this hellspawn.
And a bunch of derogatory remarks to her mom about sexual acts.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
I mean, and then it's a demon because now it refers to her daughter. So she's yelling. Chris is screaming, and Regan. It's not Regan. Now it's actually an introduction because instead of like just throwing out lines of dialogue, like she actually says, like your cunting daughter or something.
Right.
So what I mean is they're now referring to the fact that obviously she's possessed.
Well,
and the big kicker here is after that, or either before or after, that's where we get the massive head spin.
Yeah, this is the first time we get the head spin where the head turns all the way around. Doesn't hold up. That effect doesn't hold up.
No.
Plus, we've seen it a million times, but the effect really doesn't hold up. To me, it kind of made more sense, and I liked it better in context here because to me, it was a reference to what happened to Burke.
Yeah.
To Burke, the director. That's kind of how I took it. And not only that, it's when the head spins around, she goes, "Do you know what your cunting daughter did?" Talking about the murder. And this is where Chris realizes, oh my God, my daughter killed him.
She's a murderer.
Yeah, she's a murderer. So to me, it made a lot more sense. And I mean, because obviously everyone has seen that effect. Everyone has seen the scene, where the head flips around. But it makes more sense in context, and I like it now. Like, I honestly thought I was going to see it and be like, oh my God. But in the context of the murder, I really liked it. I thought it was cool.
On top of the fact that it's brutal.
It's pretty brutal, but
It's a brutal scene.
The whole scene is brutal. The head spinning around is not.
But I just mean this. That's what I'm talking about. The scene as a whole is brutal.
Right. Oh, dude, it's a tough watch. That is a tough scine to watch, even today.
It really is. It's really a tough scene to stomach.
I mean, we all know what this movie is by now, and so I think we're a little desensitized to it. Like, I haven't seen this movie for years and years and years, but I'm familiar with this scene because it's so famous. But when you actually sit down and watch it, it's like, oh wow, it's not just a bunch of random stuff. Like, this is pretty tough to watch.
Yeah, the things she says, using the cross, then the head spinning, and you're like, that's brutal. This is tough.
It is, man. It's tough.
Now we finally get to a point where we're coming off into kind of the coming out of the second act and starting to move into the third act. But this is where we get an introduction to or not introduction, but a meetup between Chris and Father Karras. Chris it feels like she's stalking him.
Yeah.
First off, in the
from the very beginning too, she's like watching him while she walks down the street, and it's weird.
Yeah, and instead of just approaching him, it feels very stalky.
It's very weird.
But she starts talking to him. They meet up, and she starts telling him about things, and she's basically trying to allude into the fact of what does it mean for a priest to conduct an exorcism, like what's the process and how do we do it? And he starts going over all the, I guess, protocol, which is basically, and by the way, I think the doctors sent them to Father Karras, or sent her to Father Karras.
And I actually like, because you hear that and you're like, well, that's pretty implausible that doctors would be, saying consult a priest. But I like the way they explained it. They said basically, if the person who's exhibiting these symptoms thinks that they're possessed, then having a priest come in and do an exorcism might make them think that the demon is gone. So they're thinking it's probably psychosomatic, but it's not like they're making it up. So if they really believe it, the way to make them believe it's gone is to have a priest come in. I liked how that was done.
Yeah, that was great. And then also I like that, and also they know that Father Karras is a man of science he's a psychiatrist. He's a doctor. So he's kind of playing both worlds, which is nice. But after she stalks him and acquires his skill set of exorcism, or his knowledge, I should say, she asks if he'll visit the daughter. I liked when he goes to visit, and then I can't remember who it is. It's the housekeeper, right? The guy that's keeping. And he comes out as Father Karras is entering and tells Chris and Father Karras that it wants no straps. I don't know why that stood out, because he yells.
It's funny. It's funny, man.
It's funny because he's like, it wants no straps, because now they're referring to Regan as it.
Right. It's just, this movie is unintentionally funny.
There are pieces that are funny, but this is what I mean, and I think they are funny. That is funny. I laughed out loud.
Yeah,
and there's other moments, but then they can play the other side of the fence pretty quickly, because then there's moments to me that are creepy. So it's like it goes back and forth. But this is the introduction of Father Karras to the demon, or to Regan, right? They have like a conversation, basically.
I like these scenes. Like I enjoy it. I think it's cool. This is the first time where I'm actually engaged in what Father Karras is actually doing. Yeah.
I like the scenes. I actually like the mother scenes because I like that. But this actually is a strong scene because they start conversing in a very formal way.
Right.
And I like that. I like that in this case, all the anxiety's already been elevated with Regan going crazy and yelling all these crazy things and shaking and all this. And this scene brings it to it drops it back down, where it's this interaction between good and evil. And I liked that.
Yeah, because it feels like cat and mouse.
Yes.
It feels like two adversaries who are enjoying the fight.
And up to this point, it feels like Father Karras, that Regan, or the demon, I should say, is getting He's getting the better of it, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so. I just
because he's playing him like he's setting it. Then you'll see this later because it's more of a casual, formal conversation. Because he's building some kind of trust in Father Karras, and that comes into play a little bit later, which we'll discuss. But pretty simple scene there. Basically, that's what goes on. And then I wasn't sure about the drawings. This is the other thing. He's like, I think maybe this is my other question, which is after the introduction, Father Karras and the demon get introduced, and it's a cool scene. He's examining Regan's bedroom, and he sees like a drawing, like a kid drawing of a lion, and like I was like, I didn't get did those mean anything? Was there any significance to these pictures that she was drawing?
Not that I know of. I have no idea. There's so much stuff where I'm just like, I don't get it.
Okay, I didn't think there was, but I put that on there because I was like, why are we showing? Because a lot of this film, you don't get a whole lot of close-ups except for in those conventional montages. And most of it's pretty medium to wide. And then all of a sudden we're showing this shot of a lion drawing and all her different,
it feels like it should be important.
Doodles. Yeah, that's all. Maybe I just got overly analytical with
I agree because it is kind of jarring just the way it's shot, and then all of a sudden we're in a close-up. It feels like it should be something of importance, and it's never mentioned again.
Okay, so here's the other thing. Now, I think Father Karras knows that it's some kind of demonic possession.
See, I don't think he does yet.
I do. I'll do. Hold on, and then I'll let you go.
He's on a roll.
Let me get through it. The only reason I say that I think he does is because if you watch I like his performance. And when they're in the basement talking, Chris and Father Karras, Chris is trying to what does it take to do an exorcism? And he's going I like his eyes. I know this sounds funny, but in the conversation between the two of them, there's a lot of concern, and he's looking at her, but he's trying to justify everything, telling himself that this is not, even though I think inside he thinks it is. And because he's talking about the protocols, he's saying, well, I can't ask for it because there hasn't been one since the 1600s. And then she wasn't speaking other languages, so it doesn't warrant the exorcism. I think what I'm getting at is he's trying to build in his own head all the things that would warrant it not being that, even though he thinks, or even though inside he knows it is. And then he says there's no experts. There's nobody that does this anymore.
No one,
in this modern age, there's no one that does it.
I'm not so sure he believes it is yet, because I think he's still trying to figure it out. I'm not saying he is convinced it's not, but I'm not sure he is convinced it is a demon, because when they're up in the room, Regan mentions his mother dying, and it almost seems like he doesn't it hasn't really hit him yet. I think he's really concerned about Regan. I think he's really concerned about what's going on here. He just got pea soup vomited up all over his stuff,
That's right. So, we get our first projectile vomit.
Exactly. And so I think he's very concerned. I don't think it's until he starts walking out the door to leave, because that's when he stops himself and he looks back and he asks Chris if Regan knew that his mother had died. And I think that's when he's like, oh, maybe something is going on here. Maybe it's worth another look.
That happens before this scene I'm talking about.
See, but because the way I remember it is he left, and then it felt like he was done with it, and then something, I can't remember what it was, but something convinces him to come back.
The only reason maybe you're right, but I don't know the placement of the scene. Maybe I have those scenes flipped, but there's a scene where they're in the basement talking, and he's talking about how that thing because Chris, the mother, tells Father Karras, that thing upstairs is not my daughter.
Right.
Like, that is not my daughter. And then she goes off and says, she says something to him about a motherly instinct. She says, I know in my gut. And then she says, I want you to tell me that there's nothing wrong, and that thing up there for a fact is not my daughter, and that an exorcism wouldn't do any good.
Right.
And it doesn't answer.
That's true. That's true.
And all it does is, I mean, it doesn't like ponder on a shot of him either, but it just cuts to him leaving in thought.
Right.
So I think at this point is when he's starting to get shifted, only because of the motherly instinct that she kind of throws on him. Now, I can't remember if that happens. Now we might have the scenes, swapped over.
Right.
But that's where my point is. I think that's where Father Karras goes, okay, I think this is bigger than anything we've seen, and this might be a real exorcist or a real exorcism.
It might be. It might be. I want to ask you before we go any further, have you been scared yet in this movie?
I've been, like I said, I think we nailed it. It was just basically I've been creeped out.
But
I haven't been with the one little jump scare, but I haven't been scared.
Okay.
I've been freaked and not freaked, creeped out.
Okay.
Disturbed.
Yeah.
But I think he knows now, because now you get the intercutting of like the religious symbolism of him like breaking bread and talking about Jesus Christ and all these things. And the cup and the blood and the water and all this kind of stuff. It's his internal conflict again coming up. Like, is all this stuff that I thought wasn't real, is it real? In other words, like I'm a priest, I'm a psychiatrist, I'm going through this sacrament, but then on the flip side of that, I didn't think any of this was real, and now I'm experiencing all these potential things with this kid that might be possessed.
And to me, this is when he's like, all right, I bet this is worth another look. I got to go back and take another look at this.
Right.
And then it cut, like it's I love the next cut because it just cuts to her sitting in the bed, and just the way she says, "It's a beautiful day for an exorcism." Like, it's just so creepy, man. Like, it just got my hackles going. It's like, yes, this is awesome.
That was a, and then and this time when he's back in the room now, he's got a recorder, and he's gonna try to record the whole event because he needs to convince the what are they, the higher priests, the
whatever.
Damn it, I don't know.
All I know is they call each other Your Excellency and they kiss each other's hands.
The diocese.
Yeah.
But he's doing it because he needs proof. He needs evidence. And so he's recording it. And this is where I think the demon tricks him again.
Yeah. I mean, I just love this interaction. Is this the one, or maybe this was the earlier scene?
This is the one where he sits down, he starts recording. The demon says, "What's that?" He says, "Holy water."
Well, before that, is this the one where the drawer opens?
That's all the same scene.
Okay.
So that portion of the drawer opening is just before the holy water.
Okay. The only reason I bring that up is because
it's funny.
Well, no, but I mean,
laughed. See, once again, I laughed my ass off when the drawer opened up.
Well, I love it because Father Karras doesn't get rattled. First of all, he's just like, do it again, like. But if you can make doors close and you can make dressers, bureaus slide across the room, and you can open drawers and you can levitate the bed, you can't undo your own straps.
Yeah. Your power is limited.
There's some serious flawed logic in the satanic world we're living in.
Someone
needs to explain this to me.
The straps are soaked in holy water.
Ah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, if he doesn't know, if he didn't know when I told you that he did, I think he knows now, because he comes back downstairs after the holy water incident. Which, by the way, the demon tricks him again, because he throws water, or he tricks the demon. He throws water on it, and it's not holy water. He's still trying to convince himself that she's not possessed.
Right. And I think they play that a little bit too, because it's not holy water, but
not holy water.
Reagan acts like it's holy water. So I think even, maybe at some point there's something in the back of the viewer's mind, if you're watching this in 1973, saying, well, maybe not, maybe, I don't know, maybe not, because we have 40 years of hindsight to know that this is absolutely a demon, but I don't know if they're still trying to play that card.
Right. And I also think it's funny, that scene, the follow-up scene to that, after he experiences this little interaction, is he goes downstairs and Chris asks him if he wants a drink. And he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I sure as hell do.
You're goddamn right. I want a drink.
She then admits to Father Karras that, and this is where it's interesting too, because Chris basically says that she killed Burke. She tells him she pushed him out the window. She killed Burke. So I'm confused because is Chris thinking it's a, I'm like, what is?
Well, I mean, earlier she had asked him hypothetically, what if someone were to tell you that they have committed a crime?
Yeah.
And he says, I would not turn them in. I would try and convince them to turn themselves in, but I would not turn them in.
Right.
And I think that's probably why she feels comfortable sharing this with him.
That makes sense. He's recorded it. He takes it to one of his buddies at Georgetown University. They're playing it back. He thinks it's some kind of other language because he's trying to verify so he can take it to the higher ups to be like, let's do an exorcism. And the linguistic professor or whatever it is tells him, no, it's not another language, but it's English in reverse. And then he...
Yeah, no kidding. I could tell right when she was saying it. It's obvious.
And...
Come on, Father Karras. Let's get our stuff together, man.
Pay attention. And one of the things that when they played in reverse, the demon screams out is Marin, which I liked. I thought that was cool.
It's almost like he's calling for him.
But now it is what we were saying before. Even though that opening scene's long, I think they could shorten it down. Now there's a little bit of resonance to that opening scene.
Sure. And I get it. I understand. I think you have to make reference to Marin or you have to introduce him. I just don't know if you need him in a long archaeological dig scene for 10 minutes at the beginning of the film.
And then, okay, so we get the idea, okay, Marin's reintroduced and the demon wants a piece of Marin. He wants to go toe-to-toe, basically. Father Karras goes back to the house. By now they've got the windows open. They're basically freezing out Regan in the room. Is this because demons run hot?
I think it's just cold in there. I mean, I didn't get the sense that they were freezing her out. I just got the sense that it's getting cold in there because maybe the demon's making it. I don't know.
I was the stereotype. I thought demons were like hellish, hot fire, stone.
Maybe I've heard that hell's supposed to be freezing cold though too. So I don't know.
Okay.
Who knows? But
fuck that analogy to everybody.
But this is a cool thing. What's written in her stomach.
Yeah.
And
help me.
Yeah, it says help me.
Yeah.
It's very cool. I thought that was really cool.
It actually kind of progressively gets not bigger, but more prominent.
More legible for sure.
Yep. And now Father Karras has to know that this is a demon. If he didn't know the other two times I said he did, he's got to know now because they do. You know how? I know that he knows at least he has to know by now more than anything. We get a push in.
That's how they sell it.
Thanks, William. Nice work. And then he goes to convince the diocese. That's what I'm calling them. I don't even know if that's the proper terminology, but he goes to convince them that they need an exorcism. They collaborate. They say, okay, let's find our best man. And who's that best man, Alan?
It's Father Marin.
It's Father Marin. Who else?
Of course it is. And I love the exposition they give. They kind of tell his story and how he was performing an exorcism in Africa for like 3 months. The exorcism took 3 months or something along those lines.
Yeah.
A long time. And it almost killed him, but he's the best and he knows what he's doing and that kind of stuff.
And I love the not the original introduction of Father Marin. He gets some note in the woods and then a push in.
Yeah.
And then a push in.
And then another push in.
But then I love the shot where he actually gets to Regan's house. Taxi pulls up her cab. He gets out. That silhouetted shot of him.
It's that iconic shot that's on the poster. It's so cool. It's a
cool shot.
That is like when you can pull that off, you know you've nailed it.
That's a beautiful shot. Props to the cinematographer. That's a beautiful shot.
Gorgeous.
He gets to the house and basically just walks in and says and introduces himself because they've already scheduled this exorcism. So now Father Karras has been asked to assist, and Father Marin will lead the exorcism. By now, Chris is all in.
She's all in. When he walks in, and from upstairs, You hear the demon yell Marin. Oh, title fight, man. Here we go. This is it. This is what I've been waiting. I sat through an hour and a half of sometimes boring, sometimes creepy, but I suffered through an hour and a half to get to this point. That is so cool when he walks in and the demon's screaming his name.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
Idea.
Let's go. Let's do it.
You love that idea of it's about to go down.
It's so cool. I was amped.
Also love his rhetoric here, the sugary rhetoric that he throws out there, which is like he starts giving ideas about the demon. Like, it's gonna know us, it's gonna know our psyche. He's like giving it's like a coach's pregame, basically.
It's gonna lie to us. It's gonna lie to us a lot, but it's also gonna sprinkle in some truth.
And he says, "Don't listen.
Don't talk to it too." I think he said that too.
And he says, "Do not listen." In other words, no matter what it says, just keep going with what we're doing. They get up into the room. Father Karras, he seems he's a little out of his league here. Let's be honest.
Totally.
But Father Marin, he knows his shit.
Oh, dude. I mean, they say he's done one of these. He's done like 10,000. He's not thrown off his game by anything that happens.
When the demon yells out, "You motherfucking worthless cocksucker."
Spits pea soup, projectile vomits all over his face. He doesn't stop.
He doesn't even move. He just gently wipes it off. Like, been there, done that.
It's like the brush your shoulder off thing. You know, that's what it was.
Matter of fact, he does this very slowly.
Pulls his glasses off.
Wipes
his eyes.
Back on, slow.
No big deal, man. This is like one step away from just brushing your shoulders off.
Father Marin's a badass. Let's not forget. So then he starts doing all the scriptural verses that allegedly exorcise the demon, right?
Yeah.
And they keep going into it. Father Karras is absolutely, once again, out of his league. They're going over it. I love the scene here where so stupid. I'm sorry. Father, first off, none of it works. Okay. So
it doesn't. It really doesn't. It does not hold up.
It doesn't quite, like, I didn't get what was happening with the vomit. So, like, they're going off and he's saying, "Be gone, evil one," or whatever he's saying.
yeah, that sounds about right.
And then they lay like a sash out on the bed. Did you see this?
Mm-hmm.
The purple sash,
right?
And then the demon vomits green. Why? But I'm being serious though. Like, why? What was the purple? Did it have significance?
I don't know. It must have some religious significance or importance. I don't know, because it did seem like when it got the vomit on it, Father Karras seemed like it was kind of an important thing to get that vomit off and bring it back.
He picked it up and gave it to Father Karen and then put a new sash down, and then they got right. Like, what?
And here's the thing, like, about the vomit, it's cool once, you know, like it doesn't work when you use it over and over again. It's not as shocking or gross.
No, but what does work is the complete vile verbiage that comes out of Regan's mouth. "Shove it up your ass, you motherfucker."
I laughed when they walk in the room and she goes, "Fuck him, Karras, fuck him."
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, what? I mean, now you're just saying the F word for no reason at all.
Yeah. But we do get a sense of the power here, because now as they're going through it, kind of coming to the end of this first part of the exorcism, the room's shaking, the doors are breaking. Now it's getting supernatural beyond anything we've seen in terms of power.
Yeah, again, you can cause earthquakes in the room, but you can't undo your straps, huh?
No, you're still strapped down.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
Those are forged in holy water straps.
It's a demon trap. Have you ever seen Supernatural?
I love Supernatural.
Oh, it's great, man. A demon trap. That's what it is.
It's that show's hilarious. It's funny.
It's awesome, man. It's ending too.
I've only seen it through season 8.
I'm in on season 9 right now. It's my guilty pleasure.
No,
It's like a procedural with ghosts and stuff. It's fun.
It's nothing to be guilty about.
It's great, man.
Show.
It's great. I love it.
My wife introduced me to it, and I was like, at first I was like, I don't think this is me, and then I started watching it. I was like, oh shit, I'm like 4 seasons.
Yeah,
in.
right. Yeah, it's good.
Like,
it's great.
But she's floating too now. While the power of Christ compels her, she's floating.
Yeah, that went on and on and on. The power of
a
Christ
long
compels
scene.
you.
It was a cool shot. I liked the shot of her floating with the close up as it moves up. The camera, and then the background kind of slowly gets just slightly further and further away. I just thought that was a cool shot. It reminds me of the shot of which you won't know because you hate Breaking Bad, but there's
vile rumor going around that I hate Breaking Bad.
There's a scene of Jesse Pinkman when he gets high on meth.
Yeah,
it's this shot.
Yeah,
it's this shot.
And by the way, I do want to say the makeup that they did on Linda Blair is great. It's fantastic. I mean, it's iconic. We've all seen it a million times, but it still holds up. It's still really good.
Now, here's room shaking, things going crazy. We're nearing the end. I mean, we have about 10 minutes left-ish. They fall to the ground. Father Karras, Father Marin fall to the ground, and Regan's on the bed going crazy. A light comes from the wall, and you see an image of Pazuzu.
Mm-hmm.
The demon statue.
You nailed it. Good job.
Why?
If you look at that image,
yeah,
Pazuzu looks like he's in pain. So I think that it's probably to show that the exorcism is working. Would be my guess.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm just speculating.
Or the image of Regan is in pain. She's excruciatingly, because you see the actual statue, right?
Oh yeah, you do.
You see the actual statue. So I was like, what? Like, why? I mean, I didn't like it.
I did. It's, whatever. I don't like.
Because, well, I don't know. It falls back into the same category as the amulet, and maybe I'm just dumb, but I'm confused on why they're there.
It's just another thing. Like I said, there are too many things. Like, let's get one thing that's important and let's focus on that. We don't need a Ouija board and an amulet and a statue and a figurine and all this stuff. Let's just focus on one.
That's where part of the confusion came in. They get her subdued to a degree, and then they go out of the room and they're prepping for round 2, basically.
Right. And
then Father Marin goes into the bathroom, ever so politely, by the way. He's like the most polite.
He really is.
Goes into the bathroom and takes some drugs.
I want to know what he's got in there.
It's got to be heart medicine or
it's something, man. It's giving him. I don't know. Maybe it's his oxy.
Molly.
Yeah, it's Molly.
I don't know. He's got to do something to deal with this. And then they go back in. Or no, sorry. Father Karen, while he's in Father Karras, I keep saying Karen because Karen and Marin, but Father Karras goes back in, the young one goes back in. This was cool. I like, once again, and maybe you didn't like it, but he sees his mom on the bed.
Oh, right? No, I thought that was cool.
I thought it was a cool shot because it's this long shot of him looking, and you think you're going to cut to Regan and the demon, but it actually cuts to his mother. And he's basically the idea. It's very Shining-esque. It's like the idea that you're seeing something that's not there.
Mm-hmm. Well, was he, or was he just seeing? And I honestly don't know. Was he just seeing his failure to help his mother in Regan, and that's why he's got to keep fighting for Regan because he didn't fight for his mom?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably what it is, but it seems like it's the physical.
Well, and that's what I was asking. Was it just like the metaphorical mother, or was the demon showing him his mother sitting there?
I thought that's what it was.
Okay.
Is that the demon can manipulate and perceive the perceptions of what you're actually seeing versus what's there.
Powerful demon.
Hey, but he can't get out of those straps.
He can't get out of those damn straps.
And then it starts talking to Father Karras and talking to him in his mother's voice. And then Father Marin the seasoned vet, the pro, comes in, and he's having this internal conflict breakdown. Basically, Father Karras is seeing his mom, he's hearing his mom, and Father Merrin's like, get out of here. Go take a breather.
You're not even helping at this
You're not
point.
even
I told you
helping.
not to listen to this thing.
What was the first fucking piece of advice I gave you? You little bitch.
Get out. And do you think that Father Merrin at this point knows that this is the end of the road for him?
It seems very methodical in the way that it's shot, because we've already seen him lay down a cross on the stand, seen him take out the holy water, and we see it again, but it seems very ritualistic and proceduralistic in the sense that this is my final stay.
Yeah, it kind of feels like this is the last stand. I've been fighting this demon for a while, and this is it.
Exactly. That's how I agree with you. I think that's how it's kind of perceived. And then he lays it down, because he does everything so gently. He like takes the blanket and puts it over Regan, starts doing the Holy Cross sound. Like, it's all very slow and methodical, right?
Yep.
Kneels down next to the bed, pulls out the Bible, etc. But basically what ends up happening is we see a cutout to Father Karras, and then he comes in, and when he comes back in, Father Merrin's lying on the bed dead.
And we don't know what happened.
We don't know what happened. Chris comes out, by the way, makes an appearance, right? She comes out. She's like, is it over? And then Father Karras is like, not yet. And then he goes up to the bedroom, and Merrin's dead.
Well, and the thing that gets him off his ass back in the bedroom is she said, is she going to die? And that's when I think that's when he found the strength to get back up there and take care of it. And then after he leaves, we get a knock at the door. And I just love the shot of her opening the door, and it's the cop. I just love that he's right there, like in the midst of all this insanity. Of course, the cop shows up.
And right before that, we get or not before that, but right after that, we get the showdown, because when he walks into the bedroom, Father Merrin's dead. I love that Regan's just casually sitting on the bed.
Yeah.
What?
It's like,
and she's laughing.
she's happy, man. Like, Pazuzu's happy. His old nemesis is gone.
So she got out of the straps, or he did.
Finally.
It only took forever. By the way, what did you think about Father Karras's CPR procedures? He's just, I mean, it's full blown.
All he does is just pound on his chest with his two hands fisted up into one.
Once again, and I hate this is a Jim Carrey homage in Dumb and Dumber.
Totally. Oh, absolutely.
It's like when he's slamming on what's-his-face's chest after they gave him the hot peppers. Like,
this is a lot easier if you just lay back.
That's exactly what this looks like.
I know.
He's just pounding on his chest. So this movie has, because after that, then it gets kind of interesting again, because the demon's still on the bed, and this is where Father Karras loses his shit. And he's like, "You son of a bitch!"
This is the funniest part to me in the whole thing, when he punches her. He punches a 12-year-old girl.
I mean, a demonic 12-year-old girl.
But she's still a 12-year-old girl.
Let's not forget, Alan. She's possessed by a devil's advocate.
He's still punching a 12-year-old girl.
And he's yelling out, "Take me, take me!" And then it pulls the amulet off. No, he has a coin amulet thing. This is where I got confused. But
another thing.
We'll get into this but she pulls something off his neck, and I haven't figured out what yet because I haven't watched it enough.
Who cares? It doesn't. Honestly, it's probably something that doesn't matter.
It may not matter.
It doesn't matter.
He's yelling, "Take me, take me!" And so Pazuzu takes his body, and then he's having it. Here's where it comes, though. I mean, it does make sense. Wait for it. Internal conflict. Pazuzu's possessed him now, and in order to save the girl and to save kind of the story of what it is. He's got to now that the demon's in him, he's got to sacrifice himself out the window. So he does a TCM jump out the window.
Yes, only this is more realistic in that he's not just going to get up and run away. Because right below the window, we should mention right below the window, there's a giant flight of cement stairs.
Yeah.
And so you fling yourself out the window, then you're falling down this enormous set of stairs.
And he ends up bloodied and battered at the bottom of the stairs. And then his fellow priest friend comes up and gives him his last rites, basically reads some last prayer. And then he dies.
So does the last rites, is that what kills the demon? What kills the demon? The demon's not going to die. The demon doesn't have a physical form.
But it has to repossess something else, no?
Yeah, but there's like a giant group of people standing around watching this scene.
But do demons float, or do they have to be in? I don't know. There's a lot of mysterious. I don't know enough about the backstory of demons. I really don't. I don't know what the lore is. Right?
I don't either. I don't know near enough.
What are the
apparently.
rules to the lore of the demon?
I don't know. Maybe some listeners can inform us, because I am clueless at this point.
Yeah, I didn't know. But he dies, and then of course, but Regan's free. That we know for sure of the demon. And then there's this nice reconciliation between mother and daughter, which is a nice piece to the story.
It is, and a fantastic acting job by Linda Blair. I mean, she's 14, and she is. You really can't have kids cry on camera because they don't do it very convincingly.
No.
But Linda Blair absolutely knocks it out of the park in this moment.
Although there was the first short film I ever made, Alan, and here's an interesting tie. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
It in. Okay, here we go. You were talking about kids crying. Okay, so I do my first short film.
Oh, you can make kids cry.
Oh, but good. And on cue.
So what did you do to this poor kid to make him?
Nothing.
Is this like quote unquote nothing?
No, this kid was like some unbelievable 10-year-old actor. Anyway, she cries, sheds a tear. It's good too. It doesn't feel fake. It feels very real.
Wait. I'm going to go back. Where's this kid now? He better be in Hollywood.
I hope so. It's a girl, right? And then, but the tie-in is this. Okay, that's my first short film.
Okay. I
submit it to a national contest called Film Your Issue. It was a social film, right? The idea was to add some kind of social context to it. But I submitted 500 entries. They were picking 5 winners. I get picked. And partly due to the fact that I think this kid shed a tear. So thanks for, I don't even remember her name. That's how sad it is. But thanks for shedding a tear. Now, here's the tie into The Exorcist. You're not going to believe this. Okay. So part of the reward for the film was 3 things. One was a flight to New York City to the United Nations headquarters to talk about your social subject. Mine happened to be child abuse based on how I made the film. And there were, we were going to speak with a couple actors and actresses and celebrities, and we were just going to basically try to bring attention to child abuse. In this case, actually child sexual abuse, ironically enough, for The Exorcist, right?
Yeah.
So me and guess who else speaks? Judy Woodruff, who's like PBS NewsHour.
Mm-hmm.
And then guess who the final speaker is?
Linda Blair.
No, but you're on the right track.
From this movie?
From this movie.
Ellen Burstyn.
Yep. She's the final. She's the final speaker. So I have me, right? Whatever. Judy Woodruff and Ellen Burstyn talking about like trying to bring advocacy to child sexual abuse. So there's my tie into The Exorcist. I've met, and I quote unquote I met her. We talked. Ellen Burstyn, and she saw my short film.
So okay, my follow up question: the kid crying, was that outstanding casting or outstanding direction?
I didn't do anything.
So it's casting. It was casting.
I cast it though. So
yeah, you cast it. So you can take credit for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. And that we did. I remember I held auditions and we had about 20 kids show up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
out of 20, I picked the right one.
I mean, it's your first, yeah.
When it comes to direction, I did absolutely nothing. Her mom actually told me she can cry on cue.
It's like, you got the job. You got it.
Hired. How much are you paying? $0. But I will build a career off it, so thank you.
I'm going to milk this all the way to the UN.
I'm going to milk this all the way to the United Nations headquarters. Thank you.
Don't even remember
there's
the kid's name.
I don't. It's on my IMDb, though. I
That's
think,
great.
So people can check it out. But there's my tie-in to Ellen Burstyn. Anyway, mother-daughter reunite. It's nice. It is a nice little scene. And Linda Blair's acting, by the way, just overall throughout the film, I thought was really fantastic.
Yeah.
She's just great, especially for being so young. Now, as the film is basically over. I mean, to this point, I think you can end it.
Oh, I think so too. Problem is, we got the cops showing up. And
I know, but
there's another death at this house in the exact same manner as before. This is the
Right.
part where I'm like, it's too convoluted. This would not, and then it just cuts to them driving away scot-free. No, at this point, Chris is under investigation. The priests, their conduct's under investigation. Every servant, as they call him at the house, anyone who works at the house is under investigation. This is not going away.
But she leaves.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how heavy of an investigation she's under.
Well, I don't
because
think she
leaves
is.
and goes
And that's
back
the
to
point,
LA.
is I think it's by having the cop in there, for a person like me, like that's not saying much, it's a huge loose end. Like to me, I'm just saying there's no way that cop is like, okay, it was a demon. All right, well, go back to LA. Thanks for coming.
What I was interested in is not the introduction, but the reintroduction of the other priest who was Father Karras's friend, the one that read him the last rites, and also was introduced when he got drunk and laid him, but like he wasn't really in the movie. And then all of a sudden he's like this pivotal moment at the end where Chris is telling, like, Regan doesn't remember anything. And then Regan comes out and is like bruised and battered, like physical problems on her face. And then is super cute and nice and says hi to the father, and then really zones in on his clerical collar, and that's some kind of like, I don't know, like some kind of like little connection or tie-in. And then what I didn't get was that he gives her, or she gives him, the amulet.
Yeah.
The thing that was pulled off while they were in their scuffle.
It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't, again,
So
broken record. I don't know why the amulet's in this thing.
anybody out there, the necklace amulet thing that he pulls off at the end, explain to us what that is.
Please, please.
Because the movie could have ended with Father Karras's death and the reunited nature of the father. Fuck. Too many fathers and priests.
Yeah.
The joining again of mother-daughter.
Yeah, I that's it. That's all you need.
That's all you need.
By the way, not to mention 2 deaths, child abuse. I mean, if you're the cop and you walk into this scene, this kid's been shackled up to the bed for God knows how long. She's got scars and cuts and all this shit all over her. I mean, immediately CPS is on the phone and the child is not living with the mother anymore. And this is the biggest tabloid scandal ever because she's a famous celebrity.
Yeah, it's all over the news. She's not going anywhere without getting some kind of repercussions.
No, absolutely not.
If nothing else, her career is over.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a tragedy because it was a demon, but no way in hell is any cop or anyone else going to believe that.
No.
And the only 2 other witnesses are dead. There have been 3 people who have died at this point and 1 child who's been traumatized.
And now Father Karras's best friend, father, I don't remember his name, leaves, and the last shot basically is him looking down the stairs and then a low angle shot of his face looking up at the window that he fell out of. And then he walks away. And that's the film. That is The Exorcist, 1973 American supernatural horror film. Okay, Alan, your favorite part, because we went so long, we kind of went long on this one, didn't
Yeah,
we?
we did. But I mean, this is an iconic film. I think
It's an iconic film. We
think
went
it
3
deserves it.
hours on The Shining. We're only 2 hours and 15 minutes. We're good.
Yeah, that's brief.
So I have a few Google reviews for you.
Oh God, yeah, it's my favorite thing.
Did you read any of these by chance?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I like having a fresh reaction to them. Before we get into that, though, I do have a couple questions for you. So,
Yeah.
but going into this movie, I guess it doesn't matter. Just in general, do you believe in ghosts?
Loaded question. Yes and no. It's weird because not really in my existential viewpoint of life, but because we heard things and sometimes there are feeling like you get a feeling
Yeah.
or like a weird whatever. We heard something in those headphones. That was legit.
We absolutely did. I don't know what it was.
so-
I'm not saying it's a ghost, but it was something.
I know, but it could have been.
I don't know what
And,
else it could have been, but it was something.
So the answer to is, it's kind of, if you put a gun to my head, right, and we're like yes or no, I'd say yes.
Okay. What about like demon possession?
No.
Can a person? Okay, so then you're probably not primed to be scared by something like this.
I was like, no, probably not.
Okay.
In real life, no. Like, I'm not scared about possession. Would I believe in ghosts? Yes, it's a higher likelihood. But demon possession, no, because no.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't either. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in that. I mean, that's why I think I enjoy possession movies so much. Because I do got a couple. There's one. It's not really demon possession, but it's called The Taking of Deborah Logan. Anyone who if you like horror movies, you should watch that movie. That is a trip. It's a
I have
found
not
footage.
seen that.
I'm a sucker for found footage. I know a lot of people hate found footage movies, but it's fantastic. It's not demon possession, but it's definitely, you gotta watch it. It's so good. I cannot. If you like horror movies and you're scrambling at the end of October to find something to watch before Halloween, watch that movie.
That's a great suggestion. I haven't seen it, so go check it out,
Yeah.
everybody.
The
I'll have to
Taking of
do the
Deborah
same.
Logan. It's great. It's great.
That's awesome.
If you have Shudder, it's free on Shudder. So I'm a sucker for this stuff. I think I can enjoy it because I don't believe in it. If I believed in it, I think it'd be harder for me to watch.
Before we get into, or did you have another question, or is that?
That's kind of it. I know this is kind of the end of horror month. So real quick, and then we'll kind of sum it up and do the closing out stuff. I've never asked you this. What kind of movies scare you in general?
Man, I don't even know that I've given it a lot of thought in terms of what scares me. It's just when you watch it, you get freaked out. I think what scares me more than anything is just the play on your own psychology. And so what I mean by that is your mind, like the traditional phrase goes, plays tricks on you. So like if I wake up and I hear a noise in the house, or I look down the basement stairs, is that a shadow? Is that a thing? I got to turn the light on. It's the more internal psychosis.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly. Your mind it'll mess with you.
It freaks me out, and I start building. And as a filmmaker, I like telling stories, so like my mind's reeling with, oh, what is that? Oh, that's that. It's this. Oh, yeah, like it starts building a whole narrative.
Yeah, totally.
And then I freak myself out. So that's what scares me more than anything. And I got to remind myself and, take it back down.
It's not real. It's okay. Everything's fine.
Exactly.
fine.
So the internal psychology, the psychology of everything.
Okay. That makes sense.
What scares you?
Well, in real life, snakes. That's my biggest fear, but that's not really what we're kind of going for.
That's a good round bookend to our Indiana Jones analogy earlier.
Yeah, I'm Indiana Jones. What can I say? Snakes scare me.
I hate snakes.
Dude, they're unnatural. You shouldn't have anything living on the land that doesn't have any legs. It's
I think they're
unnatural.
cool. I wouldn't want to run into one. Don't get
They're
me wrong.
cool, but I've seen them
cool.
like hiking and stuff. No way.
Those are free. That's freaky.
That's scary, man.
I
I
saw
don't
a
like it.
rattlesnake up the canyon, and I was pissing my pants.
I haven't seen a rattlesnake, knock on wood, yet, but I've seen like just regular harmless snakes, and even just the way they move, like it's not natural. It's not. No, dude, no. No.
Yeah, it's spooky for sure.
We need to just rid the world of all snakes.
It's I got a piece of news for you. You mentioned Shudder before we get into these last two reviews. I just got a couple reviews. William Friedkin. Here's a piece of news for everybody. Check this out, and it's very timely. William Friedkin deconstructs The Exorcist like never before in the documentary titled Leap of Faith. William Friedkin on The Exorcist. Okay, so
is that on Shudder?
Acquired by Shudder and will be released on November 19th of this year.
I wonder if that means they're going to get rights to The Exorcist too. Because I know Shudder's owned by AMC, so they got some money behind them.
And it's on AMC right now, The Exorcist. You can check that out in a few weeks, so that's cool. Now, there is a little bit of pretentiousness to that title. Let's reiterate the title real quickly. Leap of Faith. Okay, and then The Exorcist. Okay. No, he says, no, Leap of Faith. William Friedkin on The Exorcist. Oh God. You know he said that. He's like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Throws his name in. But anyway, that'll be interesting. I'd like to actually, as much as we're joking around, I'd like to hear what he has to say about it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, he's given lots of interviews and stuff. I'm sure that there's some other tidbits in there.
I have 2 or 3 reviews for you.
Okay, yes.
So we've gone long, so I don't want to go too much longer. But here's one. Not only the greatest horror movie of all time, but one of the greatest movies of all time.
I knew something like that was coming.
Okay, where are we at on that?
No, I don't agree. I mean, it's good. I'm not saying it's not good, but it's no.
Okay, that's a negative.
That's a very emphatic negative.
The Exorcist was a great movie, and I must say, in the 1970s era, it was so ahead of its time.
I'd agree with that.
Okay, and I have 2 more because. Ironically enough, out of all the reviews, it's hard to find a negative one.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
But I did find one. I'm going to leave it to the end because it's so poorly written. It's so poorly written.
They always are. Those are the best ones.
With time, the initial shock and horror of The Exorcist's images has subsided for me, and I appreciate the real underlying story. He says, the film is about faith. Okay. Well, yeah. The first part of that.
No, I agree with the first part, especially because these images have become so iconic over the years, too.
Okay, I have 2 more, and they're both 1 star.
Okay. 1 star for The Exorcist.
Hey, guys. Smiley sunglass emoji.
It's already starting out a winner.
This review is for teenagers like me. Exorcist might have been scary a few decades ago, but I don't know why they say it as the most scary movie ever made. It's just some extremely boring 2 frowny face emojis with weird and gross stuff like corny throw-ups and that kind of things. It is nowhere scary. I strongly recommend never to watch it as when I went per the other reviews, but ended up wasting my time and being bored to core.
Not to core.
Yeah. He's bored to core.
Not to core.
Okay, so there's that one.
Oh my God. I would actually be interested to talk to this person and ask what movies they do recommend for scaring you.
Hey, he's a young kid, so he's probably born after 2000 because it says teenager. So
he doesn't know anything other than Blumhouse. Then,
yeah,
that's it.
He grew up on Blumhouse. Yeah. All right,
that's cool.
And a lot of
some of them are good.
I agree. Okay, last one. Ready? And this one's going to be hard to read. You thought the last one was hard.
I don't envy you.
The last one was hard. Here we go. The time has changed, and the audience changed also. I saw this movie at 10 p.m. and I didn't scared. Why this movie is so overrated. I mean, there is nothing horror or scary spelled with 2 R's, moment in the film. It's not mean that this is bad. Well, good screenplay, good performance, well direction, good cinematography. But the point is, it's not scary, 2 R's, or horror movie.
This is, I think Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia wrote that, because that sounds exactly like something he would write.
I just laughed because I tried not laughing when I was reading it.
Oh my God.
It could be mean. Maybe I'm just a jerk, but those are some of the reviews for the film.
Hey man,
Alan,
I hate it when I don't scared. I hate it. It's the worst thing in the world.
Or scared to core.
Or I have to be scared to core. This movie.
Give me a summary and a rating.
This movie is good. It's too long. Not everything holds up, but it's good, man. It's really good. Like I said, I remember seeing it and being bored. I was still bored at times, but not like I was expecting to be. And it didn't last very long. But it needs a good half hour trimmed off of it. And I think we've kind of gone over where we think they can trim the fat. Oh, but yeah, it's a good, solid movie. If you're looking for a Halloween movie, I think it's a good choice. You could do much worse, as we've seen this horror month. Scary? Is it the scariest movie of all time? No, it's not real scary.
Scared to core?
It's your new catchphrase, man. Scared to core.
We gotta hot take that and put a shirt together.
That's great, man. That is a great one. It's not scared to core. There are some freaky parts, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's really scary. But the disturbing parts are fun to watch because it's kind of fun to see where they go, especially the time that this was made. So overall, I like it. I recommend it. There are definitely more scared to core movies out there that you could go with, but I'm going to give it 7.4 upside down crucifixes.
Ooh, good one. 7.4. That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I talked myself up while we were talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, and that's what this podcast is we're trying to break it down and really discover what the movie is, and also within the right context, decide whether or not how to rate it. Like, this is made 45 years ago, like we discussed. Rotten Tomatoes comes in at 83% on the critics and 87% on the audience. So pretty good rating on each side.
I'm surprised the critics is that low, actually.
Yeah, it's rare, but it's rare to see critics and audiences being similar.
Yeah, that's true.
Usually it's like a teeter-totter.
That's true.
You know? IMDb's coming in at a 8.0. That's really high for IMDb.
I don't know if I've ever seen a movie that high on IMDb.
I think it's hard to find.
Yeah.
But that's really hard at IMDb. So I think you had a good summation. I would just add to that one, aside from the beginning where I don't get any Denholm Elliott. You're like, who the fuck's Denholm Elliott? Well, he's Marcus Brody in Indiana Jones. It just feels like there's not some good moments and bad moments. I do like the characters. We talked about how the relationship in mother and daughter was really strong. Like some of the fun stuff. I mean, some of the horror stuff. I like the balance in a way. It's kind of funny to laugh. Simultaneously, in the same scene, be absolutely disgusted.
It's just, you go straight from laughing to, oh my God.
I mean, there's some contrast there. Things the girl says and things of that nature that really threw me back. But I think that it's a good movie to watch. I think, my rewatchability factor on the time scale, like I could do this film probably once every 2.5 years, right? So not a bad scale. You got to think there's hundreds of thousands of movies for us to watch. That's a pretty good scale. I think previous ones was 1 in 10 years. One was 1 in 5, I think, for Hereditary. And Poltergeist was 1 in 10. And so this is 1 in 2.5. So out of the ones we've done up to now, Texas Chainsaw, I think, was 1 in 400 years.
Yeah.
And then, not the original.
No, not
the original.
the remake. Yeah, the remake.
The original's a yearly. It's an annual watch.
Right.
I'm gonna go 1.5. Once every 2.5 years, and then I would suggest it and go check it out. Also, I do agree with some of those reviews, which was like, as a whole, when you look at it outside the horror genreification, it's a good drama. There's some dramatic elements to it, right? And I think those are some of the real good beats to it. So go check it out. This is The Exorcist. I'm going to give it 7.9 projectile vomits.
Nice. That's good. That's a good score, too.
Yeah, I think so. Really good, I came in just under IMDb. So that's where I sit on it.
That's solid.
Anything else you want to throw out before we end this sucker? No,
just thanks for, if you've listened this far, thanks for sticking with it. This is a fun one to talk about. I enjoy talking about this one.
This was a really good one to look into. So with another scary movie in the books for our 2020 horror month, be sure to jump on over to tameaperture.com and check out our previous episodes. You can look at those on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all other podcast platforms, including our YouTube channel, where you can do a watch listen to Alan and myself and see our beautiful faces. We're deconstructing films and arguing whether it's good or not. And you can also leave your comments and your thoughts for us, and we can delve into those with our own analysis. Your commentary is appreciated. So
leave a comment for Hugs. Let Hugs know you appreciate him. No one else seems to.
We need to do a post. Make sure Hugs gets on the post for Horror Month.
Oh yeah, I got it. I got a one that I've already taken that I want to hang up in my room. He's part of the family, man. You hang pictures of your family up in the house.
Do you take family pictures with him? You should take him for the next family picture.
We really should, actually. That's not a bad idea.
That's what I'm saying.
He's taller than all of us, so.
I'm good for something. So for Alan, I'm Gabe, and we are the Tame Aperture Podcast. Go check us out. Until next time, signing off.
The Tame Aperture Podcast is produced by Dutch Angle Pictures in association with Studio B Productions. Listen, watch, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and YouTube.